What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Schmit. I'm Schmitty. The Dodgers suck. And today on the show is Aaron MEZA.
That's the intro?
Yeah. I think that's about... Oh, did I mention the Alyssa Steamer cover?
All right, bring me in then. This is Aaron MEZA, and you're listening to Talkin Schmit. Big Schmitty nights.
Hey, Talkin Schmit. I'm already not watching.
It's cool, like tonight is the night.
Damn, this is like the coolest thing I'm ever gonna do.
I wouldn't say it was fun.
What do you mean, bro? Christian Fletcher's younger brother.
Fuck the Dodgers.
Big Dog's in. What do you think, Dolan?
We on? Schmitty?
Talkin Schmit.
Alpha macaroni.
Most of these guys, their opinion don't matter.
Talkin Schmit, right?
It's skateboarding.
I remember that.
Talkin Schmit. What are yuns doing?
Holy shit.
Skateboarding homies.
No, Schmit, you can't jump in.
What is happening?
Gregory.
Yes, we are.
Wi-Fi check 1, Wi-Fi check 2.
All right. Scorpions, Def Leppard, Journey with a new singer. Hopefully we're not going to get too carried away, but my next guest has been a listener since day one. He grew up in the peninsula. He claims San Francisco, but it's actually South San Francisco. But he also claims I vibed him early on at Ghost Skate. So we're going to hear about that and more. This is one of my good friends. You all know the Maze. This is Aaron MEZA.
NorCal legend.
What's good?
KSJO over here. Look at this guy, Lamont Tonelli.
KZSU, Stanford. Are you KZSU or KFJC?
I'm not used to the cans. Which one had a maximum rock and roll? KPFA, Berkeley.
I want to hear this Ghost Skate story straight out of the gate.
It's funny because where we lived in South City, you're kind of, I feel like we're in the very much in the middle between like the San Mateo scene, which seemed like it's not a big town, but compared to South City, San Mateo seemed like a bigger town, had a downtown, had a skate shop, Ghost Skate. And then you had the city a little bit north. So we kind of were like right in the middle. So you could go to Concrete Jungle and get vibed, or go to Ghost Skate and get vibed. Either way, we were bookended by it. Everywhere we went, it was like a little intimidating. But yeah, I just remember going to Ghost Skate. Actually, we could take the 5M, I think, down El Camino and just get off right there. And it'd take forever if I take like an hour. But, you know, it was just that intimidation factor of being just a young kid and like being so into something and wanting to not blow it. And there's just older cool guys working there. And actually Ghost Skate, they were friendlier. Like that, I was kind of friendly with that guy, Chad, a little bit.
Oh, he's super cool.
Yeah, I would see them skating the pit and stuff like that. So I'd see them around, and like Mike Alcantara and those guys were kind of a big deal, obviously. And like we would look up to those guys as kind of like the way people would look up to the pros almost, you know, like they were that kind of heavy. But yeah, I just remember seeing you there one time. I don't think there was just a general vibe in general, but
yeah,
probably just assumed he works there. He must be a dick too.
Well, I was always tripping on what's your thinking on this? Like skate shops at that time, definitely almost every skate shop was a vibe. Like if you went in there, even camera shops back in those days, like if you didn't know exactly what you were doing, you were getting shamed. Nowadays, it's completely the opposite. Like they know they need your business and all that stuff. But when did it switch and what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and how are they getting away with it back then? How are they, like people were just? It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was wild. I'm sure, yeah, record stores or hobby shops are probably like that. I'm sure if you went to like the elite train hobby shop, the guy was mean to like kids. Like, you're bothering me. I don't know if it's that thing where they'd rather be actually doing the thing and they're stuck working in the shop. I don't know. Yeah,
it's like the disgruntled guy that couldn't get to where he wanted to be. I mean, the first time I went into Out Off Gasser was so gnarly. I was like, oh, I'm never gonna come here again. Like,
yeah, I think
like, what?
Yeah, the camera shops are like for sure notorious for it. I just think when you're young, you're just everything's kind of scary and adult, and you like, yeah, you just were like so fascinated with it, and then like you're let down if you get vibed or something. But I don't know. I mean, not to sound like it was good for us or anything, but it's kind of fun to be old. It's pretty harmless for the most part back then. Most of it, I'm sure there were some horror stories out there, but you know.
Mm-hmm. It could be considered tough love. Like, dude, I got you on indies. You were trying to buy fucking trackers, you know? Like,
There was, I remember at Go Skate, that guy Chad. I was like super fond. I bought like one of my first early boards was the John Gibson, and it had that cut in on the side rails.
And that's when Living a Dream began.
we
And
fucked
so I
with
was
those.
like, yeah, I was like, I like that shape. And so I saw that the JFA board had that same cut in. And I went to Go Skate to buy it, and Chad was like, dude, don't buy this board. He's like, it's heavy. He's like, you don't want this. And actually that felt like, it wasn't a vibe. It felt like, wow, like, what's it to him? Like, it's just a sale. Like, I thought he was like kind of looking out for me. He didn't like, I don't think he even knew my name or anything, but like, I had been in there enough. He just give me like a little, like, hey, I recognize you kind of thing. But I think I bought a Nodus instead. Maybe. I can't remember what I bought instead, but
Too.
definitely talked
Nodus's
me away
was
from
the
it.
most selling board, I think, when those
Yeah.
were hot. Whew. Well, is that where you bought your first board though? Was Go Skate?
No, I got a board. My parents got me my first board from Price Club, which like morphed into Costco. I don't know if you remember that.
Uh-uh.
I think it was down in Redwood City, actually.
It was
They
called
got me. Price Club.
Price Club. Yeah.
Remember? It was like it was Costco, straight up.
It was Costco
Uh,
before Costco. Yep.
Yeah, they bought me. It was like a generic board. It was like a Rising Sun kind of vibe thing, like a fake Hosoi graphic. I was just like, my friends were skating. I was like, yeah, I just want a board. I just want a board. I kind of knew I was gonna get. I was cool with that. I was like, just get me whatever. I didn't even know the difference too much. So they got me that, and then maybe like 6 months after they saw that I was into it, I got like a Rob Scott 3 from Tanforan Mall. They had a bike shop that sold boards.
This is the one with the arm coming out.
A little bit of the face coming out.
Okay.
I think it's the last good one. After that, it starts to turn like a robot or something. I was dumb. But I was hyped on that one. And but then that got stolen. Last day of 7th grade, we got to bring our boards to school, and we just like parked them in the office, and somebody stole my board. So I was like bumming super hard. And my mom like finally took me to actually Fogtown at the time. And I knew then, I was like, I'm getting the John Gibson. Like I was seeing some Thrashers, and I was like, this is like right up my alley, like the crazy Pushead graphic,
Yeah.
because I was like previous to that, like a heavy metal kid. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I just like the shape of it. I knew like my cousin put me on the Bullets, that being reversible, and I just thought that was so cool. Like that's like 2 wheels for the price of one. Like you're just like reversible wheels. I just knew
Yeah.
it. I was like Indy 169. Like it's like when you're a kid, like just fantasize. I was getting Schmidt rails. I had it all worked out.
Yeah.
And then we went to Fogtown. My parents took me and my friend Billy Boy, your old buddy. So we get there,
Love
and
Billy.
all they have is, I mean, I'm only in 7th, about to be in 8th grade, so all they had was the Mini. And they're like, all we got is a Mini, and I was just like, I don't care. I didn't really know the difference, but it was Luke Ogden was working there.
No way.
Yeah, I didn't know who Luke was, but I remember him to this day. Obviously, like later on.
Fraggle.
Yeah, Fraggle was there, and I was like, all right, I want the Mini, I want the 169s. And he was like, you can't get 169s. It's gonna stick out too far. Like you gotta get the 159s. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? But it was super cool. He was like, he put it all together for me. He did the grip tape, he did like the die cut for the top graphic, because it's sort of like had that cool like shut up and go, or whatever it said. Maybe shut up and go home or something, or go skate. I don't know what it said. Shut up and skate, maybe.
Yeah, Swass.
Yeah. So he was like, go outside and kind of adjust the trucks the way you like it. And hey, like handed me a skate key, and I was just like, oh, I don't know. Like I was just like, I don't know, turn it a little bit. I don't even know what I'm doing. Like come back in with the skate key. He was like, nah, dude, keep the skate key. I was like, damn, give me a free skate key. If I had it for like 10 years or something, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that was cool. I mean, that was like super exciting, obviously. And that was like my first full on setup.
So because you grew up in South San Francisco, I'm like obviously further south. Were you more in tune with San Francisco? Like, how did you know about Fogtown? Like, I didn't learn about that stuff till later.
Yeah, I mean, I had like that. Our friend, like that guy I mentioned, Billy Boy, my friend Dave, actually, he was like already in high school. I had a couple like for the longest time in my neighborhood, I was like the youngest guy of the friend group. So like when I'm in grammar school, they're already in junior high. So when I'm in junior high, they're already in high school. So you're kind of getting like a little bit more exposure to like music, and I had an older brother too, but they just, I don't know. I don't know if it was the magazines. or how they got the address, but also, and then Skates on Hate was like right around the corner too. So we checked that out.
Oh yeah.
But
I think I learned about that first.
Yeah, I don't know how we figured it out, but I would go to the city a lot as a kid because my grandparents lived on Cortland Avenue. So
really?
We would go, and my dad worked on Market and Ninth, so I was in San Francisco a lot. So like going into the city wasn't like, it was pretty common to us. We'd go see movies. I'd go to like a hobby shop on like Geary Street to buy like little Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, those little miniatures you paint?
Yeah. But I wouldn't paint them. I would just play with them. I didn't even play the game, actually. I just like to buy them and like, wow, they're fighting,
Yeah.
Like that's like in second or third grade or whatever.
Yeah.
I was just used to going and, we go to Golden Gate Park. We go to Comedy Day at Golden Gate Park. So my parents were like taking us to like even Embarcadero. I had been to Embarcadero as a kid, just like checking out the fountain. Like when I first went to Embarcadero, I was hearing about it, but I went there and I was like, oh, I remember this place because I remember the fountain as a kid. And we would even go to like the Hyatt to check out the glass elevator inside the Hyatt or whatever, they had that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
We were like, I was in the city a lot, so that wasn't that big of a deal. But I trip out like how I heard about anything back then,
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I've told the story a million times, but it's like we used to get on, and I don't remember the exact names, but you would get on like the 7B. It would go to Redwood City. You'd transfer to like some other bus. It would take you to San Jose. You'd transfer to another bus, and then you're at Montague Banks. And I'm like, I don't like right now. There's no way I can do that without a phone.
Yeah, we found Fish Banks, Memorex, and the Wave somehow through that same friend Dave who was driving. I don't know how he got the directions because we were isolated. Like we didn't know any other skaters really. Like by the time I was midway through high school, like there was no skaters left except me and my two friends. So I don't know how we were finding directions to these places like at all.
How early did you find the library banks?
Again, library banks I knew because of as a kid, that's the library we'd go to, and we would just play on the banks. Like they were just like this weird geometric shaped thing, these brick pyramids, we call them actually. We call them the pyramids. And we would just like when your mom's taking you to the library, you got like 30 seconds to run on the pyramids and slide around, then run back into the library or run back to the car.
Yeah.
So like actually with skating, it just like dawned on us like, dude, the pyramids, like we can skate on that. Like this is like the kind of stuff you like as you're learning about skate spots.
Right.
Like my friend group started skateboarding. Like there wasn't like some dude who moved to town who had all the thrashers and here's future pyramid. Like we didn't know anything. Like we're just like riding around on our knees at first, like just slowly like working our way through it. But yeah, it was kind of based off of just what we already knew about. There was banks at our high school before the high school I would eventually go to. We knew there was, just from my friends who went there, they're like, yeah, there's these banks there in the by the gymnasium, stuff like that.
You went to South City?
Yeah, I went to Alta Loma and then South City. Yeah.
Okay, I think we skate there. That pool was skatable, right?
That was El Camino.
Oh, El Camino. Yeah, I skated that pool with Chris Cook.
So that's the first pool I ever skated, actually.
Yeah.
It's funny because my brother was involved in sports. It must have been like the summer after 8th grade or so. My brother was playing, I think, high school baseball. And then every year we'd go to Clear Lake for 2 weeks. So that was like our big vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And some like methed out lake towns. We loved it. But we were like in Clear Lake and my dad was like, I didn't want to tell you, but the El Camino pool is drained because I knew you'd go skate it. I was like so like pissed off. Like what? He's like, yeah. He's like, I didn't want you to go and like sneak in there and break in because I'm only telling you now because we're here in Clear Lake. And I even called back home to my friends and they're like, yeah, we're skating it. We're going like every day, I came home. The day I came home, my friend Dave again, he took me there. And dude, first pool I ever skated, and it was like a weird fiberglass, just like a big face wall, like a weird square thing.
Mm-hmm.
The third kick turn or so was kind of wet, like water was seeping through the fiberglass. And I didn't know much about like skating pools at all. And like went like halfway up the wall and just like slid out and took a crate, like probably my first gnarly hipper ever. I was just like, damn, waited a whole 2 weeks to get here and like just died on like the third kick turn. It was just out of there. And like, I think it got filled up after that. Yeah.
It was crazy. Like, I think the first one we went to was, I always say it's Cappuccino. I'm pretty sure. And the whole mentality was like, get as high as you can, get as high as you can. Did you get over the light? Like, you know what I mean? Like that was a trick. Like
I
going
skated
over
that one too. Yeah. That was another like fiber. I think Coco has a photo doing a frontside air on that one.
Yeah, I
Like
think so
shot from
too.
above. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I skated that one once and it was, you're just doing like back and forth high kick turns, which at that time I was like, I love skating like big quarter pipes and just kick turning and feeling weightless. Like I was so hyped on that.
Yeah, we were too. We couldn't even, I mean, the whole thing, like breaking in, being kind of outlaws in that aspect, and then skating this terrain that's not made for skating.
Oh, the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my friend might have went to that. I think my friend I went with waited outside at Cappuccino because I think he might have gone to that school at the time. I was just like, I'm just going to go in real fast.
Hey, I got so much magic on my mind that I refuse to lose. This week, I have a new case of the Magic Mind elixirs. Do more, stress less, focus as much as the next. That's right, kids. I'm still on this stuff, and I'm going to take my daily shot right here. Like I keep telling you guys, this stuff's been a part of my daily regiment for over a month now. And I don't know. I feel like I'm being more productive. I definitely staying focused. I'm keeping my wife healthy when she's sick in the other room. I'm taking the dog all over the place, feeding it, you know. This is the focus potion that all of Silicon Valley is talking about. Magic Mind was designed for a long-term boost in energy, cognition, and stress management. It's not just a fleeting charge up. You'll start to feel the full effects after taking it consistently for 5 days with continued improvement through day 10. As you all should know by now, unless this is your first time listening to the podcast, January, the entire month, the good people at Magic Mind have come up with a special. For the entire month of January, you can get 1 month free of these Magic Mind elixirs when you subscribe for 3 months. Go to magicmind.com/Jan Schmit. And with my code Schmit20, you'll get an extra 20% off, which gets your grand total to a whopping 75% off. Again, this only lasts until the end of January, so we're running out of time. Hurry up before it goes away. That's magicmind.com/Jan Schmit with the code Schmit20. Get yours today and be prepared to have your mind on some magic and some magic on your mind.
And now, another first impression from Timothy Donald McKenney.
I usually pop these out first try. Everyone's usually first try raw dog as shit. And the truth is there's so much emotions and so much love behind this next guest that I think I'm on my 5th try. I keep bawling. It's gone so deep. I keep start talking about other things. There's so much to Aaron MEZA that it's not just a first impression. It's an everlasting impression. That probably goes for every one of us out there. Because the way this guy's made me feel, I guarantee he's done it to hundreds of us. I guarantee you, like when you were on the curb, because I was on a curb on one. Hey, Tim, need you to get back on that board, bro. How you doing? Is everything okay? You'd be like, what? MEZA's checking in on me? Wow. But this is where it starts. It starts in South City on the hills with Francis, Little Robert, Guillermo, Sam Hanna, MEZA, Danny Parks, and just skating on the hills, skating the pyramids, and just, dude, it was so rad. The era so rad. All I could think of is Mike Carroll, Indy Crossbone Ollie era, because that was Danny Parks' backyard. I must have seen it. I had to go there and learn those Mike Carroll Crossbone Ollies. They look so sick. They feel even better. Go out and try them. Frontside and backside. Backside feels good too. Anyways, anytime I was on one, there was MEZA checking in. I had lost skateboarding. The machine had taken it away for so long. I'm talking 15 years. Who do I get a fucking call from? While I'm sitting on my couch in El Granada, it's MEZA. And he's asking if he can use some footage. And I'm telling him, no, the machine's taken my soul. You can't. But because I had to tell that guy, that the only time I skate is to the store for beer. As of that day, I started skating again, and I haven't stopped. And I've seen more this era and this time than I ever thought I would. And it's thanks to the next guest, Aaron MEZA. I love the fuck out of you, bro.
Hello, this is James Kelch, and you're listening to Talkin Schmit.
So what were some of your favorite spots when you were growing up? Like there's Selleck Park, Pyramids, Quads. Like what do you go? What once you start knowing about those places, are you hitting one of them more regularly than the others?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, the first couple of years, we didn't have a car, so it was all based off of where we can take buses to, and it was just a lot of like jump ramps in front of someone's house or something. But there was like, I don't know if you ever skated those places, they call it the Pyramids in San Bruno. It was like these loading docks with 2 banks, and one had a curb on top.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's super close to that wall ride photo you showed me of Alcantar between the freeways. It was like right around the corner from that.
Okay.
There was like and we liked it because it wasn't great, but like at that time we were so like half pipes or like everything, but we don't have one. We don't know anybody who has one. So like the Pyramids was like U-shaped. It was 2, facing banks.
That
so
place is still there.
Yeah, still there. Yeah. I think they actually moved it wider somehow.
It's off Sneath, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
So this is like the Sunday Barney dude's slappy spot.
Oh, there?
Yeah, there's these curbs that kind of go downhill on both sides, so you can skate like a half pipe, and they fucking made the whole thing. Yes, right.
Yeah, that spot was like pretty legendary because we would go there because it felt like it's like a natural half pipe. We were just looking for natty halves back then, right? Like anything natural half pipe seemed like as good as we're gonna get. So like that was fun. You could do like little rock and rolls or like ollie up onto the curb. Like we weren't doing any slide tricks, but that was close by. Pyramids we would go to. I think Pyramids actually, like honestly, I think that's where I learned to actually do kick turns. Like it was like what we had. That's like the only thing. We actually had like a lot of bank spots in South City. So
yeah, for real. Like Westboro banks, were you guys fired up when Jason Lee had that?
Yeah, but that was after. I was kind of already in like I was still picked up by then. We had already skated that a lot, like as kids. I mean, I had friends who lived right there, so we'd go up there at night. He had a launch ramp, so we'd pull out the ramp and skate the banks. I'm trying to think of what else. The one thing we were pretty good at, like cruising around a lot back then. Like we had friends who like all they did was skate like a launch ramp in front of their house, and like, but we were like, let's go find like Miley. Let's go find where the dish is. We even skated like HP ramp somehow. Like again, I have no clue. Because we took the bus there, skated the dish. This is probably like 87, 80 or 88 the most. I think I'm in 8th grade still. I'm only skating for like a year and a half. And we somehow found the dish. Dude, we got off the bus so far away. We got off the bus like we might as well have been at the Cow Palace like that far away and somehow stretched our way up there. Like rolling on 3rd Street, probably on.
That's what I was just saying is it's way sketchier getting there. That once you're inside, you kind of felt okay, but like getting to the house or getting to the dish was gnarly.
The house, I think I've probably been there 3 times over the lifespan. I never even knew about the mini ramp until I saw photos of it. But like every time we skated, it was pretty thrashed too, like holes and stuff. And you're just like through all the seams and everything. And we were just starting from the bottom.
Was it vert or mini?
No, it was vert. It was vert. Okay. All the times I went there was vert. It had an orange coping. I remember at one point. I think my friend might have grinded it. That would be like the extent. And nobody dropped in. We just all went from the bottom. But I remember I used to think like, man, like you're saying, you go to this backyard, you're kind of like out of the way. But I was also like, anybody could roll back here and just take whatever they want from whatever little we have. It's going to be theirs. Because there's one way in, one way out. And if I remember, there was like a park on the back side of it, right?
That's right. And sometimes boards would fly over there. So you'd have to go over the fence and go down the backside. And that was like, fuck, you're looking
the first time
everywhere.
we went to the dish, we basically got kicked out by like a 10-year-old, like swinging a chain, like on the bank. We're just like, all right, we're skating down the hill as fast as we can now. Get out of here. Same with blood banks. We found blood banks, just no idea where they were. Just I would show photos to my parents in the magazine and be like, does this neighborhood look familiar to you? Like, do you know where it might be? They're like, oh, I don't know. Like, maybe it's around here. You know what I mean? And we took hours and we finally found it. And the location of that was like in a pretty rough neighborhood.
Fuck
And it's like right in the center of like a housing complex. So you go into it and like, again, we took like 2 or 3 kick turns and people were just yelling at us from the balconies. And like after like hours of trying to find this thing, it was like we were in there for 30 seconds probably.
Yeah.
We're like, we're out of here.
That's like the
we
film.
were getting chased. Yeah. I mean, I was of an era of 80s skateboarding where like we were getting hassled a lot on the bus in our like in our own town on El Camino Boulevard. Like I was telling my kids, like we were up there recently because my parents still live in the same spot. We were walking down El Camino, me and my 2 friends, and then like these few big dudes were walking towards us. Like we crossed the street to the island, they crossed the street, we crossed back. We crossed back, and we're just like, dude, we're skating.
You're
this
going
way.
a little faster,
Yeah.
than Bolt.
There was a lot popping off back then because I started skating like, and a lot was going on like in our town with like, I don't know if it was like because I was entering high school and like things were just elevating, that's just the natural order of things, but also like the movie Colors had just come out.
Oh.
And I live in a town where it's like people don't need to do a lot of these things to survive, but they were just maybe enchanted by it and they wanted to take on that person. Like even a lot of the friends we skated with, they're like, they became like kind of more like, you know, we would like want to be gangsters. They're not really, you know, we know where they live. They're not gangsters, but they would like all of a sudden they're tough. They're wearing filas. They want to fight people. And like us as the skaters, we're the ones out at night in a parking lot with nobody around. So it's like, we were like easy targets for them to like, you know, chase us. We never got like messed up super bad. I had a friend got jumped kind of bad back in the days, but like, it was just like, we were the ones out and that skaters were just different back then. We weren't like, I don't know. We were pretty nerdy and just not like that dudes at all.
Yeah.
I saw like, I used to go to Embarcadero and be like, whoa, dude, these dudes are like kind of tough. Like they even dress like B-boys, some of them. I was such a head trip to me, even though it's weird because we love rap music, but it's like, we were the prey of like people who were like kind of like engaging in some like harder activity. It was just like, like we're just getting just dissed every turn.
Yeah.
Like being on the Muni in the back, it's getting hassled and like people making fun of our shoes. Like it was the era of like fresh shoes. And we had like, you know, Chucks or Vans with holes in them. They're like, look at these dudes' shoes. Or like, we're just like, oh gosh.
Yeah. We used to get the custom Vans and almost intentionally just make them like have people make fun of them. Like looking back, like I had Wonder Bread. I had like so many different bright colors. Like it was just like, fuck everybody kind of. It was crazy.
Yeah.
What about Danny Parks? When did he come into the mix? And he had a mini ramp, right?
Right. Yeah. I met him. I kind of met him for the first time, but didn't like just met him at like when I first time I went to did you go to Boys Club in South City? They'd have the launch ramps on Friday nights.
Oh no, I went to the one in San Francisco.
They had a quarter pipe and like some launch ramps. They were like, there would be like 200 kids just going off. That's where I saw like Mike Carroll, all of them for the first time. Gray Carroll, maybe Rick Apicetta and those guys. There were a lot of good skaters that would come through there. They had a contest and like Tommy Guerrero showed up and Fetch and stuff. It was cool. Yeah.
Right.
So I just saw Danny there one time and I just asked him like what's up? Like, I think they let us in for free. And I just asked him like, how does this work? Like, does this, you know what I mean? Like, is it every Friday night or what do you have to do to like come here like consistently? And I kind of remember that a little bit, but he told me later, because he was like from San Bruno. Like, if you know, it's like the further you go south, that kind of wimpier. It gets softer with each town. Like South City softer than Daly City, but like San Bruno softer, Millbrae as you go down. You know?
Yeah.
So you hit like San Jose, but dude, but he was just like some like. I had like long hair and stuff. He's like, dude, I was like scared of you. I thought you were some crazy like rocker guy, like whatever.
Oh, funny.
Like, you were like intimidating to me. I was just like, damn, like whatever. But anyway, so I don't know, like years later, I probably didn't hook up with them for like another year or two. There were some mutual friends. I had a friend in our neighborhood who skated, but he went to like a school down the peninsula, and I might have met him through him actually. He went to Sarah, like an all boys Catholic school.
Yeah, I had friends that went there.
Yeah, so he met up with some skaters there, and I think some of those guys lived in San Bruno and knew Danny, and that's how we kind of like linked up.
Oh, okay.
And then later on, they built a ramp. Actually, they built a ramp and didn't tell us for like a while. They kept it secret, and then like they told us like we have a ramp. I was just like, what? Like, it's crazy.
There was that ramp that was like out in the field by the airport.
Yeah, Millbrae ramp. I only skated that a few times. It was pretty like kink, but we skated Danny's ramp. Like that's where I learned all my little dumb lip tricks and stuff. Yeah.
So when you were young, did your grandpa or your parents or somebody like give you like, here's a camera so you could document everything or something? Like, were you into cameras young?
You know what? I was into photography a little bit. I took photo classes in high school.
Mm.
And just, I don't know, something about skateboarding opened me up to like photography and filming in a way that I just, you know, you would see some of those early PAL videos and you'd be like, damn, looks cool. Like this film, you know, I wasn't like, that's Super 8, that's 16. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything at all. But we would just like take our parents' like compact disc camera and try to shoot skate photos. I think everybody kind of does that. But only like, you know, a couple of rolls over the years, even because it was expensive and it's like your parents' stuff. So,
oh, so you didn't get into it more till you started skating?
Oh yeah, I didn't have any interest in it at all.
Because like when I was a kid, we'd go to Disneyland or all our vacations. I'd have a camera, so I was always shooting photos.
Yeah, I wasn't like that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, my parents took photos here. I mean, there's probably like at each age, there's probably like 3 or 4 photos of me and my brother. I mean, each year.
Okay.
It wasn't like they were kind of, I don't know, maybe it was just too pricey or something. But like my dad did get like a Pentax K1000 at some point, and pretty early on actually, just to like, I should have a camera, I guess. So it was only through skating that we became like, me and my friends would like every now and then like, I gotta roll a film, like let's like go to the library and like shoot a couple photos or something, you know, or there's like 6 photos left on my parents' camera. They said we can shoot a skate in the jump ramp or something, you know. But yeah, it wasn't until like, honestly, like when I was maybe the very tail end of high school. Actually, Dan Parks had a video camera, so we started filming each other. But that was like, it was pretty late. I was probably like a senior maybe, and we were just handed around.
Was it 8mm?
It was video 8. Yeah.
Video 8, yeah.
Yeah, not even high 8. Just
not even high 8 yet.
I don't know how he got that. And then eventually my dad also got a camera, some kind of big Sony 8, video 8. And he might have got, I don't know why he got that, but he just ended up getting it. And then at San Fran Mall, there was one of those like camera shops with like 1 million cameras in the glass. You know, it wasn't even like a pro shop, maybe. I don't know. There's those weird mall camera shops that were popular back then. And Dan Parks was like, hey, they have a fisheye lens there. I think that would fit our camera. And we were kind of like starting to realize like, oh, that's what they use on like these videos that we're watching, you know. Starting to transition a little bit into just video, like homie camera, New Deal video kind of look.
Right.
Yeah, where it was a little bit more like grounded, you know. And I think it was like $80. And I think he's like, I can pay half if you can pay half. And I just asked my mom, could I like have $40 to like buy this lens with Danny, you know, for his camera.
Right.
And we put it on and it was like, whoa, this looks just like, you know, videos were getting that like lo-fi. So you were like, whoa, this looks like, and I had a couple of friends who were pretty good at that time, like maybe close enough to get sponsored maybe at some point, but we just we went filming. We would skate this like kind of underground garage thing in Bay Hill, San Bruno area. And yeah, we just filmed there. And I remember just being like, whoa, this is like way easier. It actually looks kind of cool, you know, like it actually looks close to what we're watching. It was like after that we were filming more for sure, but we would just film and come home, throw it on a VHS tape, and like that was like the extent of it. We weren't trying to like make a video, or I don't think even any of the guys who were even kind of maybe good enough or like even making sponsoring videos yet or anything. It was just pure like stoke, you know.
Okay. So then when you're filming with your friends, that's kind of like how you learn the ins and outs of it. And then is there one day where like you meet Chico or somebody that's like takes it to the next step?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I had been going to Barcadero for like years, like since junior high actually. but like sporadic, very, we go a couple weekends a month or every weekend 1 month, and then maybe not even go for a few months. Go check it out again. It was kind of this back and forth. But towards the end of high school, I had kind of like all my friends pretty much quit skating, and Dan Parks was one of the few like people still skating with me, but he had moved away to college because he was a year ahead of me. So like my senior year, I would just start like on the weekends, I would just borrow my mom's like Oldsmobile and just like go to Embarcadero and just be like, there'll be people skating. I'm kind of out of like friends to skate with. They either have like girlfriends or moved away or something, or jobs. So I was still in high school, so that would be like my weekend thing. And at that time I was kind of like, I knew York and Carl and Chico a little bit. But like the older, like which I consider like the real, like older Embarco guys, like James and them, like I didn't really know them, but I knew who all they were. I even knew their names, like that's Shelby, that's Jake. I didn't know their last names, but even James would kind of say what's up to me. He was pretty friendly, but I still was still very much keeping my distance for the most part, except for the younger guys. And we were just starting to bring our camera around, and I was filming my friends skating at Embarcadero, and then James Kelch was like, "Hey, do you want to film some stuff?" And I was just like, "Sure." I like pretty much left my friend right there. It was like, "I'll be right back. I'm filming James." Like,
were you nervous or excited?
I'd probably both. Probably both. I was definitely trying to like make it look good as much as I knew, and it was all just based off of like just watching videos over the years. Like, you kind of do it like this, or you like.
What was a video that was inspiring you? Like, what was something in that era?
I mean, I liked all of it. I mean, I love the PAL videos, the HD videos. I love Sick Boys.
Yeah.
I think at that time it was probably 91 or 92. Probably 90. I think I might have been in college already, actually. My first.
So it was 8th Street days.
Yeah, World, 8th Street. Rubber Sheet was out, stuff like that.
Okay.
Video. Yeah. Anyways, but he was like, "Hey, he was like, I'm filming. Do you want to film some stuff?" And I was like, "For sure." And like, he filmed a bunch of like super rad stuff that day, like best skating I ever filmed, like clearly by far. And we were like already like big. I mean, I knew who James was for like 4 years already. You know what I mean? Like, this is that guy from the city who can ollie super high and like, had, like rad style. And like, I knew he was like the guy, I mean, the mayor down there already, it was like pretty established. So that I was just like over the moon to be like, I'm with James, spelling James right now. Like, I was super hyped. And like, he filmed a bunch of like amazing, like he did a line through the whole place where he ollies this fence by the end of the fountain, like this whole thing. And it was just like that. He already had a Spitfire ad ollieing this fence. So he like finished this whole line, like, through flat ground ledge off the thing over this planter, then all the way over. I didn't even know where he's going to go. I just followed him. He just ollied the first time. And like, you can hear in the background, like the whole place. It's like, yeah. And I was just like, it's amazing.
Did that footage ever get used?
It never, I think someone ended up in Epic later, but it never got, he was trying to get on. It was weird because right after that, he was like, "Hey, these dudes are quitting 8th Street and they're going to start this company called Plan B." And he named all the people who were going to skate for it. And he's like, and he's like, "I'm gonna try to be the AM. I'm gonna try." Like, I talked to Carroll, whatever. Like, they want me to send a video, and I was like filming a sponsoring video for that.
Whoa!
Yeah, that was a trip, dude. I was just like hearing this like earth-shattering news. Like, he was like, "It's gonna be Rick Howard. It's gonna be Mike Carroll." You know what I mean? And anyways, he's like, "And I might be the AM." I was like, "Dude, I'm." So he would kind of call me, and I would just start going out with him and Jake Vogel, this guy Mon, this guy Dennis. We would just cruise around. We'd go to like Fort Mason, and we probably filmed for like a month or two, which felt like kind of a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the interim, Plan B probably had started. It started pretty quickly after that. And then I think we eventually sent the video to 101 though, for some reason. I think that's what, I mean, I think I just cut it together and gave him the tape and he did whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But then shortly thereafter, he got on Reel, like within months. I think those guys were just like, "Why aren't we sponsoring James?" He's like, "We're an SF company. He's at like the biggest spot in SF. He's the main dude."
Yeah.
So, I mean, he had already rode for like Dogtown, and it was getting boards. I think he got boards from 8th Street before that. So yeah, it was just like going out with James, and that clearly like opened up. At that point, there wasn't really anybody there. Like Jake Rosenberg was maybe already, I don't know, he was coming up for sure, obviously, to film Plan B, but he was kind of just solely on Plan B and maybe starting to travel to San Diego a lot. So there was a bit of a need for somebody because all these guys were starting to come up like pretty hard, you know? Yeah.
So then did you meet those dudes kind of through James?
Oh yeah, like James, or it was just kind of this like known thing, like film with Aaron. Like, I remember WingDing called me up.
Sick.
I don't know how he guessed he got my number through James, and I was like, honestly, like it felt like a celebrity was calling my answering machine. I was like, WingDing on my mom's house. Like this, I was just like, oh, this is how it's gonna be now. Like I didn't even talk to him. And he was just like, hey, like all polite on the phone, like, hey, Aaron, I got your number from James. Like, I would love to like start filming with you. I was just like, whoa, like, I guess this is just going to be a thing.
Right.
And then shortly thereafter that, I did go to FTC and I didn't even know, I knew who Kent was, but you know, I was just a kid going to the shop and he was like, hey, James told me like, we've been wanting to make a video and he says you're the guy to make it. So it wasn't even like, do you want to? He was just like, he was telling me like you're gonna make the video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which was like
that's kind of how it was back then.
Yeah. It's weird because it wasn't like I was like, I want to be a filmer one day. I mean, I felt like I wasn't very good at skateboarding, so I thought if I was going to contribute to skateboarding, it would be something like this, I guess. Which I still love skating, so I wanted to be involved in it. And skateboarding was changing so much at this time where it was like you kind of was like, oh, these guys are going to be like, I don't know. My favorite skaters are guys that a lot of people don't even know about yet. You know what I mean? Like James or, you know, WingDing and these guys. I don't know. It was like very lo-fi stuff. It wasn't like a big deal and in the big picture of things, but like it was a lot about, for years, my friends and I from South City were like going to Embarcadero. You went to Embarcadero today? You know, did you get anybody's way? Did somebody yell at you?
Yeah.
Did they say hi to you? Dude, Jake Vogel like took a sip off my drink. You're like, no way, dude. Like that's amazing. Like, you know what I mean? We were like honestly like pretty in awe of them with like, and we weren't trying to goon it. You know what I mean? So to finally even just, I think the motivation more was just to be like, you know, it's just like anything else when you're kind of younger and you've been looking up to people, like the thing you love the most. And there's all these great skaters in your area. Like we were so fortunate that I was just like, dude, I'm just like, the Embarcadero guys to me are bigger than like, you know, most of the pros. So it's like, you know, it's just kind of getting down with the click kind of vibe. Like that was like more the motivation. There was no like, I want to be a filmer one day because there wasn't really filmers outside of company owners.
Right.
It wasn't like a lot. I mean, Jake Rosenberg was doing some things actually right at this time where you're like, oh, it's just like a young kid like me making these fake videos, or I think he made a Dogtown video around that time.
Yeah.
And then was starting to make the Think video. So there was a little bit of that was very much like, oh, it's like I've seen this dude around. Like that's crazy. He's the one making the video. Like, you know. So you kind of had a little sense of like, this is the way skating's going, really lo-fi and do it yourself. But like, you know, I wouldn't phrase it in those terms at that time, but it just kind of riding with it. And then like FTC thing felt like a big deal because it was exciting to make a video, even though I had no idea like what that really meant, like how I was going to do that. But I was more stoked, like, oh, I'll be skating around with Rick Avicetta and Mike Carroll and Henry Sanchez and like all of our favorites. Like FTC team was stacked with everybody that we thought was like the best.
It was the shit.
It was more about being excited about that, you know.
Plus, it was full street cred. Like those are the dude that like sign off. Like it was like for me working at Thrasher. Like if Jake said it was cool, I knew it was cool. So if those guys are telling you this works, you're like, fuck yeah. Like it gives you confidence. We used to like, like I said, like I went to Embarcadero today, saw Mike Carroll do this, or what's the name was he? Like, who was there? And you're like, da, 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 you know what I mean? Like, like Chico lived down the street from Carroll in Daly City, and we used to drop Chico off. It was just starting to get like sponsored and stuff a little bit, Flow from Real. And we would drive by Carroll's house, and we would all look and be like,
Is he like, maybe we'll see him in the window, you know? Chico pointed out his house, like that's where Carroll lives, you know what I mean? And dude, like one time we're driving, sure enough, we saw him like in the bedroom window. We were like, wow, like that really? Like, you know, I mean, we weren't like super stalker or anything, but it was just funny. You're just like, oh shit, like
yeah,
there it is. It's funny.
Did you edit the first FTC video?
Yeah,
just you, or was it you and some people?
It was just, I mean, Kent was there for some of the day. I think it took 3 days to do it, but it was this thing that they might have done the real video like this and some of the Thrasher videos. It was called Abracadabra. It was like kind of by Townsend Bump, and that. Oh
yeah.
So you rented time and you went in there and he like kind of pushed the buttons. It was tape to tape. So linear, you just go from the beginning to end and you just like line up the tapes. Kent was there. This guy that used to work at FTC named Craig. He was like one of the early FTC employees. He came with us.
Okay.
That's kind of why there's some of that stuff at the end with like Keith and the DJs. I don't know if you remember that. It's like at the way end of that was kind of like their kind of trip. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. Just it's at the end. Do whatever you want. You know what I mean? I don't really care, but I pretty much sat through and just with this guy, we cut the video in 2 days, and then I had to go home and like we took a few days off, and like I was just like matching music. I would play music while I watched the raw tape and be like, oh, this kind of works. This works.
Oh,
I had quite a few song ideas, and then I went to Carroll's house and we kind of went through some music, and he picked out that De La Soul song that he had just gotten.
Oh, okay.
So he picked out that song, and then I think I picked out the rest. Or no, there was a Dell song that Kent got. It was like an unreleased Dell song, and he was like, "Hey, Dell wants to give us a song. We're going to use it." And I was like, "Yeah, we can use it in this section here. It's fine." You know?
So that's the first video you really edited, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like again, like I look back now and I'm just like, wow, Kent like really like trusted me. I mean, I might have been 19 or 20 years old, you know. He didn't like ask me how I was going to put it together. I mean, honestly, it's following a lot of formulas. You know, it looks like a Plan B video or any other video. You know, it's like a little bit of intro, this guy's name. It looks like a lot of videos of the time. It's not like some groundbreaking format, but he wasn't like trying to give his input or, you know what I mean? He wasn't like, no, change this. Like he was totally cool and was like, so now I look back, I was like, damn, I was really fortunate. And he was like really like cool just to let me do whatever I wanted, basically. Yeah, and trust me to do it, which is like, now I'm just like, dude, I was just some dumb kid from South City. It's like 20 years old. Like, not that, I mean, it's a skate video. It's not like, I mean, a 13-year-old could put it together probably, but whatever. Like, it was cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, and also though, once you have a video out, like once that came out, Aaron did that. That's just like, now you're kind of the guy with that circle. Like, it's like Luke going out and shooting a photo. You know it's going to go in the mag. You know what I mean? Yeah. So filming with you becomes more of like, that guy gets shit done. And then the next video, Penal Code, did you have that experience to like kind of form what I'm going to do this time and not have it just so much of a wing?
Yeah, I mean, I felt, you know, honestly, like even before the first FTC video, I was almost right away, these guys were all hijacking their footage for their board sponsors. That's one thing about it. Actually took, from the conversation with Ken, it took a couple of years to make, like, or back a year and a half, which seemed like a really long time. It was almost like embarrassing that it was, because I think he was putting ads out that were saying like video out now, like, and it's like, it was like an early version of like fully flared taking forever. I mean, it clearly didn't take 5 years, but it was like, whoa, what's going on? This thing, like they've talked about it, like when's it coming out?
Right.
But like right away, like first day I'm filming with Javante, he's like, hey, I got to film for World. So whatever we get today, I got to give to World. And I was just like, all right. So like, what am I, you know, I was not in a position to be like, no, dude, you're doing it. I didn't have it like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it was, I was smart enough to know like these guys, their board sponsors are more important. As much as they loved FTC, like at that time, the board sponsor was everything. So I understood where they're coming from, but I was kind of like, oh shit, this is kind of awkward. But I was also super happy to be involved and like have footage in the Plan B videos, Love Child, you know, all the Tim and Henry's, that I filmed a decent amount of Henry's part. So like all that stuff is actually happening before the first FTC video came out.
Oh,
I had been contributing all this footage just because again, they were like, dude, I got to do this. Like,
Well, that's how it is, especially when you're green. Like, you ain't gonna be like, no, I'm holding on to this, you know?
I was not, I mean, filmers weren't like that back then, especially. And I for sure was not going to be like,
Yeah.
Like-
It's cool though when they tell you in advance too, like, hey, I need to film, instead of like later, hey, remember that trick we got? I need it. Like, if you go into it knowing that, it's a little easier.
kind of, but I know Kent was kind of getting like, he knew the deal too, but like, he was like, dude, I still want to really make this happen. So there was like a little bit of a pressure around it. So there was kind of that whole thing. It was like, I mean, by the time FTC video came out, like Girl had just started maybe a month or so before. I kind of knew like I'd been filming for World, but all the World people that I was most associated with, like the San Francisco people, almost all of them went to Girl or Chocolate. So I kind of just naturally knew like I was gonna like go with them. If that makes sense, you know.
Were you in any of the discussions and stuff? Like, did you see that coming?
Not at all.
Mike York told me he went to a hotel room with Carol and Rick, and it was like to tell Ternansky. It was like, whoa.
It's funny because Mike York's the one who told me about Girl. That's why I was kind of tripping off that story. It was because it was kind of famously right before the SF City, the Civic Center contest. Like
right.
The day before, you know, everybody would congregate on San Francisco. They go to Embarcadero. I was like right by the stage with maybe Scott or somebody, and he just walked up. He's like, dude, everybody just quit World to start this new company. He named everybody. And he was all hyped because Mike actually had quit World already to skate for Stereo.
Oh.
So I think he kind of felt like maybe a little vindicated too. Like, I told you, like, World's kind of crazy or whatever, you know what I mean? But I mean, it was like earth shattering. We're just like, whoa, this is like the craziest.
Yeah.
I was privy to a lot of complaining, you know, about World. Not to sit here and bash World at all, but they were young and just like, oh, dude, like they only sent me 2 boards. Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Shit, like,
right.
Like they're being shysty. They're not calling me back. But, you know, who knows what's going on really? But there was like a lot of, I don't know. It was such a disrespectful time that it was pretty normal. And World was like a volcano ready to erupt at all times. I feel like they were pushing so much rebelliousness that like it snapped back on them in a way too, I guess, you know, at some level. And I think people are just, you know, I remember York kind of quitting and Spencer might have quit or got kicked off. So like I kind of knew people were kind of there. I think some of them felt, whether it was real or not, like of like your time's limited here. They're always looking for the next new person, or I don't know, you know what I mean? But again, it's like everybody's young and insecure, especially skaters of that era.
That kind of reminds me of the old urban myth that I always heard was Rocco had these guys focus boards on purpose to make it seem cool so they could sell more boards. Do you remember seeing someone focus a board for the first time?
I mean, Jeremy Klein in the video, that's the first time I saw it. Yeah.
Do you think that was kind of manufactured?
No, I think they're just having fun. I think Rocco was like, he was great and just like showcasing. I'm sure there was so much wildness going on in skateboarding the whole time that was kind of like, you know, now you hear stories. It seemed squeaky clean for a little bit in the 80s, you know, mid 80s for us. But dude, they were like, some of them were raging super hard. And now you go back, you're like, oh yeah, these guys are like,
dude,
so
that footage of Danny and Colin in the Plan B video where they're just flying around in his car, just throwing pies and just
yeah. I mean, that was kind of like the World era, but so it was kind of this like, let's just show everybody like what's really going on. And like, it was like, at the time, it was like a fun energy to like tap into for a lot of people, obviously. And it was like, I mean, again, like I was going to Embarcadero where I knew some of these dudes were coming from some rough parts of the city, and like you were really mixing in with like people from Noe Valley all the way to people from like Visitation Valley, you know what I mean? It was like the whole gamut was there. It was like some raw fights and stuff. So it's like it was just kind of just exposing that side of it, you know, a little bit, just kind of like the rebelliousness that's innate in skateboarding for whatever reason, you know.
We'll talk about like filming with Carroll, because me and McKenny were talking about it. It's like, from our perspective, it seemed like when you whipped out the camera to film with Carroll, everyone sat down and it was just like, it was fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Carroll is easily one of the most naturally gifted skaters I ever was around. And I mean, even before I knew him, he was like, even like back to like, we would see him around the city as a little kid, like ollieing off the jump ramp, like only Tommy can ollie off the jump ramp like that at that time. And here's this kid who's like younger than me, even, with like a little blonde flat top. So like, he was already a guy, like almost like a year or two into skating. It was like, we knew who Mike Carroll was from the Boys Club, and like he could skate the launch ramp better than anybody. He's younger than anybody. He's a little brat, little shit, right? Like, he doesn't seem very nice. And then by the time Embarcadero came around, he was like, you know, reinventing skateboarding at that time. It was like nuts, the stuff that, like, you know, when that Plan B video came out, like we were lucky enough to watch a lot of that stuff happening before our eyes. So it's weird because he's like one of my good friends, but like he had, especially at that time, like a magnetism to him where he was like, people wanted to dress like him, look like him, skate like him. Like,
yeah, heavy.
I mean, we were close to him, so sometimes we joke around like, you think you're the fourth beastie or a little brave, you know what I mean? Like, it was funny too, but like, and they would call him Nerd. That was his nickname, Nerd.
Right.
So, you know, it's weird because we, you know, everybody would tease him a lot, but because everybody was teasing everybody, you know. I think Mike was super influential at a very pivotal time of skateboarding where it wasn't that big, but a lot of it was changing. And he was like a big part of that change of how it looked and the tricks that were being done. And it's kind of famously like a weird time of skateboarding where things got like kind of ugly and stuff, but like he wasn't like that. Like Javante wasn't like that. They look good.
Yeah, I mean, Mike always looks good just rolling. Yeah.
And if he was in like the right headspace, he could just turn it on and just film so much stuff and just do these lines where like a lot of the lines that maybe in the FTC video, they're just like after he made the first trick, the rest of it was like I didn't even know where he was going to go. Like all that stuff at the top of Wallenberg's, that stuff skating down California Street. He was just like, hey, follow me. And he would just go. And he was so good at stringing things together in like this really good way. And I don't know, he just had like he'd been skating for a long time. He can skate mini ramps. He skate bird a little bit. He gets he started like Jake. I'd be like, cause I know Jake really loved him. And like early on, I was like, why do you like Mike so much? Cause you know, Jake's older. You expect him to like Chris Miller. I don't, you know what I mean? Like older guy. You know? He's like, I just love Mike. He's like, cause he went from jump ramps to hard flips. He made the transitions from jump ramp to hard flips. And I was just like, damn, that's like, it's kind of true. Like that generation, like really did span that era.
Jake always told me too that like from the minute he met Mike till that Mike was always cool with Jake. Like they always he never gave him attitude.
I mean, Mike was like a kid going to Concrete Jungle, so I'm sure he just remembers, you know, that stuff sticks with you.
Yeah, and the local guy. I mean, Jake's always the hometown hero. Yeah, exactly. You know, Tommy Guerrero is his favorite, and then Mike's the next generation. So it makes sense. But yeah, you're skating the what's it called, the casting ponds, and there he is like doing a big mute, you know, like whatever. It's like he's seeing this guy all the time, so it's fresh in his mind. Were you on stage with the SOTY Party?
Yeah.
How's that?
It was fun. Like that was probably only the second. I went to Solomon's. That was the first one I went to, was Solomon's.
Me too, with the mini ramp.
Yeah, I actually I broke my ankle on that mini ramp like a week later.
Oh.
Yeah, we heard Mike. I swear, unless I have this wrong. There's that kind of famous photo of everybody out at Wallenberg. It's at Wallenberg, but it's like that famous posse photo of like Carroll, that Bryce shot. It's like Carroll, Ben Sanchez, York, maybe Huff. Yeah, that's kind of famous photo.
Maybe Chico.
Sort of famous. Yeah, Chico, maybe Shamil, Marcus, or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that day we all were at Wallenberg that day. Mike York's holding my camera, like looking through the camera, And I remember Bryce like, let's get a quick photo of everybody. You know what I mean? And I swear I think that day is the same. That night was the SOTY party, I feel like.
Oh, really?
And I feel like Mike might have heard about being SOTY either that day or just the day before. I'm almost positive.
So they didn't announce it beforehand? They kind of surprised him?
Where? I mean, I think they just called him up.
Yeah, right.
I think Greg Hunterson was like, dude, I think Carroll just won Skate of the Year. I heard he won. And so we all, I think we might have even known that day. We all went to Wallenberg, and I think we might have known already that he won. And yeah, we just went there that night. Mike was just starting to drink a little bit, and he was like very nervous in front of a crowd. So I think his strategy was just get hammered, and they just started calling everybody's name to come on stage. But I remember I was up there, and I was like, dude, there was like 30 of us already on there. I was like, dude, you gotta call your girl. Her name was Erin, actually, at the time. I was like, you gotta say Erin. I think he kept saying me. I think he was think he was drunk. I think he thought I was talking about myself. But I was like, bring Erin up here. Your girlfriend's still on the ground. You got like everybody else up here. You better call her name, dude. You gotta get in trouble. I remember that. And I remember actually I was actually super hyped. I was just starting to know Jake that year, actually. And he just did one of his like off the cuff speeches. He's like, I don't care who you are. And he named a few names, and he named my name. He's like, MEZA, blah, blah. And I was so like, it made me feel so good. You know how Jake had that thing where like he can make you feel like top of the world or like the lowest of the Dude. At that time it was all highs for me at that time. So it was still like I was still like just getting to know him. But like I was just so like flattered he even like threw my name out there like in his little intro speech.
Sick.
Yeah, it was probably like kind of a diss too, but I was just so stoked. Like, whoa, this dude's rad.
When you started skating with all the, you're filming all the big dogs, do you ever revisit some of the, the library banks or any of these old spots? Did you ever see anything go down that was phenomenal at a spot that you never saw anything good? I mean, quads, right?
Quads? I don't know if I ever went there to film, to be honest. We went there as quads came a little bit later, even for us, like maybe the tail end of high school.
Okay.
I remember people started going back there, but I don't think it was really hard to get anybody to leave the city, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, they would like South City was like out of state, like to them. A lot of them didn't have cars. Even if I wanted to drive, they're kind of like, just a skate here. Like it's better, which was, the spots were, you want to take them to some terrible ledge in like Belmont or like, or they have brown marble right there. Like,
that's true.
So, but one thing, like a little bit later, I'm pretty positive I took Jehobel to the pyramids, the library banks.
Oh, really?
With Salva, with Greg. And I actually also took him to the San Bruno banks I was talking about, the Pyrolators. And he did some stuff there that was just like, I swear, I think Jehobel, I might have photos at Thrasher or here somewhere. Like something you would never think of. He might have aired over the top of the pyramid, like bank to bank.
Okay.
Something crazy.
Phil did that, and McKenney skated it really good too.
Yeah.
Like I was tripping because I didn't know those dudes yet when I went there for the first time. So we were just like, getting our little carves or whatever. Yeah. And then they were doing transfers, and I was like,
it was hard to get speed at that spot. Like it was really, there was a big bench in the way. There was this boys club contest. But my friends, Dave and Alberto, they just had a hunch. They followed people to the library banks, and Fedge and Tommy and them skated the banks.
Ooh.
Something you would never realize, but there was a hip because Tommy, they were like, dude, Tommy would come from the street all the way up the curb and hit this hip. And at that line to us, even though now it'd be so obvious, but we were just like, whoa, like he ollied up first. Like that's so quick, even though it was probably like 8 feet or longer. Like,
yeah.
We couldn't believe that like, we're just, you're just blown away when you see people's lines that are like really know how to skate. We were just like, whoa. And it's funny, my friend Chad, who lived in that neighborhood, he was like, dude, I met this dude there. He like works for Thrasher or something. We're like, what? Like, he gave me a Thrasher magazine. It was Keith Cochran.
Shout out.
They're like, his name was Keith, and he met us there. Like, he was cool to us. He gave us a magazine, and like, so there's like little things like that. Like, went like a long way. Like, those are like big time moments for us, at the time.
Was the FTC video, did they premiere it at Lake Merced?
That was the second one. we did a premiere at the Boathouse.
Was that sick?
It was sick. Yeah, it was fun. It was like small time, but like, yeah, it was cool. It was fun. My parents actually came. I think that was the first time my parents were kind of like, I think we sort of understand what you're doing here. I guess, you know what I mean? It kind of made a little bit more sense to them. I was still like in college at that time, so I was kind of juggling stuff, but I think for them to see everybody like having a good time and clapping and stuff.
When Girl starts, is that kind of like how much of you moving down south is like premeditated versus like were you thinking about that, or was it like girls down there, we gotta go?
I mean, it took a while because I mean, it took years. It was probably like 4 years after Girls started that people started. Chico moved down first. That's what it was. It was like everybody started going. And because Girl for a long time was like, I don't know, maybe 40% San Francisco, Oakland people. And then like the rest, 60% was all down LA. We would like, at the time you could fly Southwest super cheap, Oakland to Burbank, and like under $100, I swear, a round trip or something. So they would get us tickets every now and then. We'd come down, film, or they'd be working on skits and stuff. So that was always fun. So there was like a lot of back and forth. But then Chico got a girlfriend down here, and or maybe from up there, but they moved down to LA, and so people were starting to kind of slowly migrate. Mike moved down there. Just a lot of us were going down there a lot. And I was like staying at we'd stay at Eric's house a lot, right off Melrose. Eric and Barra had a house together.
Oh.
So we'd stay there. It was getting to the point where like I was down here for like 3 weeks out of the month, and I'd go home for like a month and then come right back and be down here for a while towards the tail end of college, sort of. And then I was just staying with people for a long time. I was trying to get a house with Scott and Dimitri. And then I eventually just got like, Rick was like, hey, if you get an apartment here, we'll pay like half your rent or something, or whatever it was, you know? So that's like what I ended up doing. I got a place right across the street. It was like a house with Chico, Carroll, and I think Tony Ferguson at the time. We all lived in this one kind of neighborhood. So yeah. But I mean, when I was younger, I was like, I'll never live in LA. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Care, like, they can offer me a movie deal or something. You know, then like he moved down there just because like Carol and Chico moved down there. Like, your big boundaries change a little bit as you get older, I guess.
Yeah, everything changes. It's crazy, but like eventually you're in Burbank, right?
Yeah, that's quite a bit later though.
That's the outskirts, so it feels like your
like
zone doesn't.
It's like living in South.
Yeah,
it's like I'm right over the hill. Like if you went over the Hollywood sign.
Yep.
And went over the backside of it, like I live right there, basically.
But when you move down there, how long is it before you start like going into the office and stuff?
Well, at that time, I was just strictly filming. So we would go to the offices to drop off tapes and digitize stuff. So I came down, I was working for Girl. I graduated college. I was doing that back and forth thing. Went like on those DC Europe trips. Like I missed my college graduation to go on like that DC tour, the super tour they called it. Yeah, my first time to Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, like Rick Hook, he was like, we gotta make a video. Bring Aaron, he'll come. Like, you know. So that was my first time to Europe. It was like Ken Block and like
no way.
All these guys. Yeah, it was sick though. I mean, this is when DC was like Huff, Scott, Rudy.
Oh.
It was like that. Mike Carroll just got on.
Oh, okay.
So it was that kind of time. And I had been on some girl tours across the US, and I was like hyped on that. We went to Canada a couple times, Vancouver.
Sick.
So I was like itching to get to Europe. I remember Scott went on a DC tour to Australia, and they're like, there's this big European tour. And I heard Rick telling them like they should bring you. I was like really close with Scott at that time. And I was like so excited. So like I never went to those Europe contests. But I got to go on this. This is probably like 96 or 97.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was hyped on that. And then, yeah, that's the era of just going back and forth. So when I finally came down to graduate college and started coming here a lot, I was just getting paid like as a filmer. So there was no Crail tab at that time or anything. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And that led up to me going to, after the chocolate tour video came out, right after that, I started working for Skateboarder.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that come about? Somebody reached out to you, or
Yeah,
did you?
that was through Ballard.
Oh,
Ballard, actually, that same street I lived on across from Carroll and Chico, like he lived down the street. And he was just starting to do Skateboarder with Sean Mortimer. And then Sean Mortimer left after, like, Ballard was like, at the time he's a bit older than us. So he was like he would go skate with us and shoot photos, but he would come to me. I think I was doing stuff for Slap a little bit already. Just occasionally, like, I was really close with Lance. And so shot a couple of photos, would interview some people, wrote a couple of things. And I liked magazines a lot. And I was kind of like, oh, I would like to do something like this. I was kind of getting bored of filming, to be honest.
mm-hmm.
And I was close with Ballard, and he would show me layouts. Like, what do you think of this? What do you know, for some reason he trusted me in that way. And Sean Mortimer, after one issue, he went off. He quit to go do Tony Hawk's book, I think, is what happened.
Okay.
And he's like, hey, Mortimer just quit. I want you to apply for the editor position. Like, I was like, honestly, I was like, right away in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm down to do that, you know? And so that's what I did for a few years after that. I had to go down and interview with some couple like publisher people at the like Surfer magazine building in like San Juan Capistrano down in Dana Point. So yeah, that was like my life after that. Yeah, it was a trip.
Did you have any interesting conversations with Jake in that time?
I'm sure he called me and was like, good luck. Well, I don't know. I can't remember, you know. He
Skateboarder Mag, what are you doing, MEZA?
Yeah,
just something.
Yeah. I'm sure there was something like that. Because we were pretty you know, I don't know. It was like close with Jake is different than being close with a lot of people, but we were like in contact all the way up at that time. He would call me to come skate the ramp every now and then, which is pretty weird. He would just call me, come to the ramp today at 3.
No way.
All right, I can drop in and do like some grinds.
Roll in, fucker.
Definitely was that roll. This was the ramp by Thrasher though, not the Widowmaker.
Yeah, the one across the street.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes I would show up to be like Joey, John. It'd be like a pretty heavy session. I think that's why he'd call me. He'd be like, "Oh, Aaron will dig this." You know, it's like sometimes he would make some really sweet gestures to me like that, where I felt like it felt like an honor almost. And one time I can't quite remember. I swear, I don't know. It might have been Jeff Grosso there one time.
Oh, really?
I can't remember. Somebody like a 80s vert legend where I was just like, dude, this is insane. I remember Coco being there. I didn't really know those guys at that time, to be honest. They were kind of like a different part of the city, you know? Like I respected them, obviously, but just didn't really kick it with them like that. But
yeah, they had Friday. It was like every Friday there was a session after work, and once that got rolling, there was some heated sessions.
Yeah.
I remember that was kind of when I started like dipping in a little bit and being like, oh shit, you know, like Phil had just got on Think, and Think was right across the street, and Fish would go skate after work and that kind of stuff. And I was like, holy shit, you know, I think I saw Bob go in there, but we didn't even go in. No. Like we're like, we're not cool enough, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it probably happened like, I probably went up there 3 or 4 times at the most, but over like a year or two. But yeah, he was just one of those dudes who would just call me up from time to time. So he even came by the Skateboarder once or twice when we were like on Wilshire, and he would call me every now and then and like try to like, you know, give me like some kind of tough love. Like, why'd you mention Thrasher? He's like, I know you love the mag, but dude, never mention the competition, dude. Like, you never get stuff like that. I mean, he actually, I interviewed him for Skateboarder.
Oh.
And he did a 1-page interview thing of him just going off. Like, we did like an interview issue, and I gave him like, I was like, I want just like somebody interesting. Like, I think I can get Jake to do. I remember Dave Carney was like, I can't believe he let you do that interview. I was like, I mean.
And they ran it?
Yeah, I ran it. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And he was just like, he's like, I don't only do this for you, Aaron. Like, I won't do this for any other magazine. Like, you know what I mean? Which is like, what's he gonna do for Transworld or Big? We were fairly neutral in a way because I don't know.
Yeah, it was different for sure than Transworld. Transworld was just like, no.
And like, to be honest, like I didn't like the original Skateboarder is so before my time. Like I was aware of it, and I knew people had this like affinity for it. But like for me, like I wasn't hung up on like it's got to be like the old skateboarder for better or for worse. Like I just didn't, it was just I wasn't around for it, so I didn't have that like hanging over my head, so I could just kind of do whatever, you know. I wasn't like so hung up on like I got to make it like how it used to be because I didn't know how it was, you know. So I don't know, maybe that I don't know if it being skateboarder, I don't know if he was like this is my chance to be a skateboarder, but I kind of like I don't know, I kind of separated the two eras pretty much.
Yeah. You want to take a quick piss break?
If you want to, I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, I'll just do it.
Blood Wizard. Blood Wizard. Blood Wizard. Blood Wizard. Shop.bloodwizard.com.
Tickety-tack.
Hey, it's Corey at Blue Plate, 3218 Mission Street. Come see us. Meatloaf, fried chicken, deviled eggs, Dollar Olympia beers. We're here every day of the week. We got a garden and we got smiles on our faces. Come let us make you happy.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I don't think so. Winner, winner, sheen dinner.
All right, and now we have a winner. I almost forgot. I was so excited from the Niners winning and going to the NFC Championship next week. Bang, bang, Niner gang. According to Keith Meek, who is the official judge for this F-bomb contest, the correct answer was fucking 168.
Is that real?
And none of you fuckers could get it. So we're going with the closest. Drumroll please, the winner of the complete slasher skateboard from Santa Cruz Skateboards is Parker, excuse my French, Cochonnet. Email me your address and we'll get it out to you ASAP. Thank you to all that played, and I got another F-bomb contest coming here in a few episodes because I just did an interview with a guy that might have beat Keith Meek.
Winner.com.
Yo, yo, yo. SFC, what's up? Family? Dude, I'm so fucking hyped right now. It's insane. Let's get it.
This is Nasty Neck, and you're listening to Talkin Schmit. God damn it.
Yeah, the Crail Couch origin story. How does that go? How does that like all come to bed? Is it just like we need a segment and like how do you put that together?
That was like born out of, I mean, at that time I was like, all right, I have to come up with all this stuff. There was no like, let's have a meeting to talk about, we were just like doing it. Like there's not a lot of thought going in, try something, it doesn't really work or just figure stuff out. And I mean, Crail Tap, from the time I started working there, like the internet is kind of like rapidly changing too. So it's like, at first you can just put like a little megapixel video up. Like you can, you're kind of like stuck on like, oh, we can use photos.
Our first ones are like, yeah. I think less than 320, maybe 160.
Dude, seriously. So like stuff like that, 240 videos, 240p or whatever it was, like a lot of it's kind of based off of that. But I do remember at one point, I actually was in a different office. I was like, we were in cubicles, and Rudy Johnson was telling me the story of him convincing his wife, but his then girlfriend back in the 80s to drop in on a mini ramp. And like Rudy can tell these really like funny, cool stories. And he just told this whole story about getting his wife Pam back in the days, like when they were in high school, to drop. He's like, I was telling her like, dude, if you do this, you're going to be like one of 5 chicks who can do this in the whole world. Just the way he was telling this story. And I was just like, oh man, I should have filmed that. Like, I remember just thinking like, dude, I should have filmed that. Like, that would have been amazing. Like, and I remember just thinking like, oh, I should start filming these guys. And then I actually moved into it was a kitchen, and that was like kind of not being used, and they converted that into an office. And they gave me that office. It was like just much bigger. And they just threw this couch in there that used to be in Rick's office right across the way. And I think it was Lee Smith I did the first one with, even without a lav mic. It was like set up so perfectly where I could just be sat at my desk, have the camera just right there and point it at the dude. And it just worked out. I eventually got a lav, and I don't know what. I don't know. Like
Lee Smith, first one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's sick.
Yeah. Or you know what? I might have done something else in a different interview. I might have interviewed, I swear, I might have interviewed like Barra and Costin because the game of skate thing was just starting to happen.
Oh.
And I would just ask them some questions about it. Like maybe, again, just with no law, but that kind of same setup. And I think the format was just based off of like, I just want to be able to quick cut. I don't care if it's jump cutty and I don't want to hear my voice. I just want to put title cards up. And I had used that song recently for like, Four Star did like an art show and I did like a time lapse of Mark and Brian doing a painting. And I used that song. I made a time lapse video. Yeah. And I just used that song to cut the time lapse to. And I remember it had like a real finite ending that I like. So I was just like, I remember that song just had a good feeling. And I think I could loop it to where we don't hear the lyrics and still have this kind of crescendo thing at the end that I liked. I don't know if you remember, they all kind of ended with like the song would kind of actually kick in.
A funny feeling.
Yeah. So I was just like, I'll just use that song. It already kind of worked in this art show format. So
did you use that the very first one? And then
I think once it was not the Bear and Eric thing, but once it was called the Crail Couch, I think I'm pretty positive it was
stayed that way.
It just stayed that way the whole time. Yeah. And then once I had the timeline, I remember at one point I got pretty efficient with it. I was like, dude, I could, if they came in early enough, I could shoot one and probably post it that night if I had to, or that by 5 o'clock. Cause I would just copy and paste the previous timeline and I could just kind of work it out to where I would find my ending and just cut it all and just place the questions in and just like, I would just have to trim a frame here, a frame there. Okay. I have to loop the song one more measure. And then I would have to I'm either like 30 frames short or 30 frames over. So I just have to go into each shot and like frame off here, frame off here, frame off there, frame there until it kind of just lines up. And I was like, all right. Yeah.
Dude.
I could at one point I was like, they would kind of come and go. And I was really like, not concerned with like every Thursday is this. I was kind of like anti that. Like sometimes I would have like 3 in a week and then none, and then 2 1 week, and they eventually slowed down quite a bit. But I was like, as soon as somebody came in, and then coincidentally, like right when I started doing them, we had like a chocolate team meeting or something, or not a team meeting, but like, hey, let's watch our footage for the video or something for pretty sweet. Like let's get together and watch what everybody has. So I was just grabbing people like, come in, and it was all also based off of like a lot of people would come to Girl back then. So I didn't have to go to them. They would just come to Girl. So I'd just be like, here, hop in here real fast,
Yeah.
And then eventually people would kind of like, hey, you want to come down and do one? They're like, sure, I'm down. Let's do it. Like,
Was there something like that kind of inspired you, or was there something else like somewhere like GQ doing something similar?
No, I don't think there was a lot of that kind of stuff back then, really. I don't think
Burn Dog loves it.
It is just sometimes people will be like, dude, somebody's biting the Crail Couch, but I was like, it's just an interview. Like, I don't know if you can fight it. Like, it's not a format you can really own because I'm just interviewing somebody on camera. That's clearly existed before. Yeah,
but the quick cuts, like the question and answer with the looping song and then the ending, ba-boom, like that, that works. I mean, it's kind of the same format you use for the mini top 5, right?
Yeah, that came after, I think. Roger Bagley helped me do that one, though, where I think I might have gave him the song and he looped it. But I was like, hey, we should do video versions of top 5s. And he kind of just went and did one with Daniel Castillo. And then he would be out. He's like, hey, I'm out with Brophy. What do you got for him? I'll try to do a top 5. And I'd be like, oh, ask him top 5 Australian skaters, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or he would just come back like, hey, I was with this dude. I just got one. I'm like, oh, cool.
And was Spike pretty much hands off? Like, was he only involved when it was the big production videos, or would you see him around from time to time?
I mean, mainly for the skits of the videos, video meetings. He'd come in from time to time for sure. But not a ton. I mean, you might even go like a year without coming to Girl,
Well, what was your favorite skit that you got to work on?
I mean, I was around for the mouse one. That was super fun. Actually, the first time I met Spike was when they were filming the intro for Goldfish in the city with Sheffy skating around the hills. Like I was driving around, he would like be in the back of my Bronco 2, 86 Bronco 2.
Yeah.
And, I would drive and he would film. We found he wanted to jump the car really bad.
Were you there when they jumped the car?
Yeah. And he was like, it was 2 days. I wasn't there the first day, and then the second day I met up with him, and it was me, Mike, Spike, and Rick at we met up at FTC, and then we just went out for the day. And that was the first time I think I seen like the Yashica T4, and they shot like the
Everyone
cover
had
of the
that
video. Yeah. They were just like, yeah, we're filming this skit, and they kind of explained the idea, and I was like, oh, amazing, this is cool. We were just cruising around. Oh, so anyways, he's like, I want to jump the car, and we were like, oh, Devonta, he for sure knows where, like, and sure enough, he was like, go to like Lake Street and like 30th or whatever, and like streets, like he knew exactly where it was, like where to go.
Sick.
Which I thought was pretty rad that he would know of all people.
The one where, who is it? One of the Wilson brothers, and he's like the stunt double.
Yeah. Well,
it's like Mike talking to him, and he's like, that one is so classic.
Awesome. I was there for that one. I was there for, I mean, obviously a fully flared intro.
Oh.
But yeah, right. The
Cairo.
Yeah. All that stuff. I mean, it was honestly like that stuff was always, I was there for the mouse intro. So those were always like really, I went to film school and stuff. So like, I was like always super hyped to be clear, like I was just mostly, especially those early ones, just around like helping in little ways. Like they just have like they were super lo-fi, just like Spike with a little 16 millimeter camera, or even sometimes Rick filming stuff. So it was cool. Yeah. It was fun to be around. And it's like, it just felt like very creative in a way that like maybe I wasn't all exposed to previously to be around. I mean, he was, and at the same time, he's making like a Beastie Boys video or.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was literally be sitting at home and some amazing video would come on, and I would look at the end and be like, Spike Jonze. I'd be like, no way, that was like sick.
I mean, the movies too, like,
yeah,
he's made some sick ones. You're like, damn, it's pretty amazing. He's a huge inspiration. Like him winning the award, everyone was all fired up doing screen grabs.
I went to his house and went into his closet and saw it, took a photo with. It was just like in his closet, like on a cubby.
So good.
Yeah, but he has this nice house like he bought like a long time ago. It's actually in the Chocolate Tour, some shots of it. It's like up in the Los Feliz Hills. So we would go up there for like little video meetings. And it was cool. Like even like the day we did the mouse intro, he was working on his first movie that it actually got like production stopped before he even started shooting. But he was supposed to, there's that Harold and the Purple Crayon. It was like a famous children's book. And he was developing, like he got hired to direct that, make a movie out of that children's book. This is before John Malkovich. And so he was like, he took us, it was like right where we were filming the mouse stuff. So we met there first and got Mike all dressed up in the In and Out costume. And he took us up into the production office, and he had all these storyboards of like what that movie was going to look like, which was like super amazing to see. It was like this, at the time, like the super interactive thing where like the kid was like coming out of the book, and it was like to see all that stuff at a young age was like, it was super rad. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's definitely kind of the pinnacle right there. Like when you leave there, have you done enough and you've got a good enough relationship with those guys that you can say I'm moving on, or was it kind of like, was it tough?
It was tough, but it went like as good as I could like hope for. So I was happy about that, because I very much wanted to like not cause any like breakups in the friendship, and because I was leaving to go work on some shows at Vice, I think it was like this, it wasn't like I was leaving to go, I don't know,
work for a competitor.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was like, and
he went to zero.
It was pretty strange because, I was basically leaving to work on shows for Viceland, and Spike was like the creative director of that channel. So my friends who were there, like unbeknownst to Spike, I was talking to them like, yeah, like maybe you want to try doing some of this stuff. And one of the women that I knew, they were like an executive producer who was going to launch all these shows. She was like, well, my boss says we have to talk to Spike. You have to tell Spike first because you're leaving his other company to like work at this other place where he's working. So we don't want to make it this, not that I was like some big player in the whole thing by any means, but like it was just like we don't want to like take somebody from his other company to come work for us, you know what I mean? Like
right.
So I actually, which I probably would have always called Mike first, but because of that, I did call Spike first. I was like, hey, I've been talking to Chris and Lauren, who were my friends at Vice at the time. I think they want me to work on these shows they're going to do, and I just want to let you know. And he was like actually super great about it, which was like felt really awesome, you know.
Lauren's King of the Road, right?
Yeah, she did Epically Later and King of the Road and like a lot of the food shows on Vice. She actually really helped develop Epically Later, as she was the editor early on. So she kind of helped Patrick develop that whole. She did like the Cardiel episode, and you know.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she was the editor, and she really helped shape it into like a more historical thing. I'm sure Patrick obviously did too, but like, and this guy Chris Grosso, they were.
Oh yeah, I know Chris.
Yeah, so those are people that I knew, and they went on to do all these other shows, and they launched a lot of like food stuff on that network as well. But then from there I went and talked to Mike and just went to his house, and I knew I just didn't want to like go into the office and be like, everybody come into the office, I got something to say. Like I didn't want it to be like that.
But you went face to face.
I went to Mike's house, yeah.
Sick.
But then he and I think I told him like, don't tell Rick and Meg, but he told them, and then so I didn't like. I just did it over the phone or they just called me like to talk, like, hey, it's all good, man. Like we love you. You know, it was all really nice. So it was totally cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're the type of dude. You're not a shady dude. Like everyone knows, like what your heart is. If you're doing something, you're doing it legit. It's not like some weird thing.
But there was a lot of people who had left coincidentally around that time, so it was kind of a tumultuous time. So I wanted it to be like kind of like easy as can be, you know.
Right. Yeah. We need your first impression of Tim McKenney, because I know you've known him a long time, and he was like, you got to ask MEZA, what made him the guy who actually cared and would check on his homies when most wouldn't give 2 cents? You know, he's like, fuck it. He's like, he calls me and that matters.
Dude, I need my Talkin Schmit, man.
It's funny because I knew of Tim for like another, you know, I don't know. It's just that time where like things aren't moving around a lot, and like connecting with people is a little bit harder in the 80s. So.
And now another first impression with Aaron MEZA.
There was like this kid in San Mateo that was like little and supposedly like really good, you know what I mean? And my friends were more his age, so I think they interacted with him a little bit more. And we just heard of like, there's this kid, he's like super good, he's in San Mateo, like, but they were like, he's super hyper, like he's a maniac. And we knew who Crouch was too a little bit, right? Jason Crouch, and they were like, they were kind of almost like, they were like maybe almost two. Like even when I first met Jason, I mean, I like him and it was cool. But at first I was like, man, he's like a lot. And, you know, it's funny. And the first couple of times I was around Tim, like went up to his house, like pick him up. He like, I think his parents were home, but he's like, dude, check these out. Like went into his mom's bedroom and like showed us these like kind of like, you know, those like glamour shots you get. Like some girl, you know, gets like hires, like you go to one of those studios and get like weird, like kind of sexy camera shots. But he was showing them to us of his mom, like, you know, I mean, they weren't like they weren't like nudity or anything, but they were like, he was like, check this out, check out my mom's. And we were just dying. I just thought that was like next level to be like some dude you kind of just met, like check out these photos of my mom, like with a boa on and like soft focus. I was like, damn, dude, put his mom out there like that. But it was like super, like kind of innocent and funny too, though. You know what I mean? I'm sure he was like had a good relationship with his mom, but it was just like something that you would just like. My friends would come over, hide the photos. You know, but he was just like, here they are, check it out. It was so funny.
He disappeared for a while. He fell off radar, stopped skating. He was all bummed on life, and then I think you called him and somehow worked out some video with like your friend's band maybe and footage of him or something like that.
Yeah, a friend that this guy Mark Bianchi grew up skating with. He actually lived in San Mateo. He lived off the 92, but he was like a really close friend of mine. Around college, he kind of went into music. He started playing music and he kind of went that direction. And he actually started this band called Her Space Holiday, which I think was like a pretty decent size indie band. I didn't even realize it until like years later. Actually, I saw Crouch, I think, and he was like, dude, Mark's in a band. They like put records out and stuff. Which was cool because the last kind of contact I had with him, he was playing in a band with friends and stuff. So, but anyways, like, so we kind of like reconnected here and there. And then years ago, he was like, hey, I haven't put out a record for a long time, but I'm putting something out and I want to make a video for this one song. And I want to take all the old footage that we used to have just with Danny's camera, just fooling around, skating the ramp and stuff. And it was like all of our neighborhood friends. And Tim was in there at that time, but he was like, hey, Mark was like, could you just call all of them and just say, hey, you're going to be in this video, just so they don't like trip out, you know? So it was kind of cool because I had like, it was like maybe 5 or 6 people I hadn't talked to like in 20 years, you know? And maybe Tim like a little bit more, maybe his was not as long ago, but I just called him up and like, hey man, like what's going on? Like Mark's put out a song and he wants me to use this footage. And like Tim was like, what does he think? I'm going to sue him or something? I don't get it. Like, why are you even asking me? And I was like, I don't know. He's just trying to be safe. But we, you know, I mean, with each person I called, like we caught up on like, what are you up to? I'm doing this. You're doing that. Cool. That's rad. And I think Tim was like fishing a lot. And if I have this right, you might know more than me. He was like, I have a board, but did he have a longboard? Or maybe he had a cruiser or something. I can't remember what it was.
I never stopped skating.
Or, I don't know. He kind of, I don't know. He hypes it up that like I said something to.
Yeah.
Or maybe he had a cruiser and I was like, why don't you just get a regular board then? Like, and I guess he just went and did it. I don't know. Like it was something that like
something snapped.
I think it was more him. I think it's more him being hyped. And it wasn't like, I wasn't like, dude, what are you doing? You got to skate. Cause like I wouldn't have, I mean, I'd hardly skate myself. So I was just like, I mean, shit, like just get another board if you want to do it. And I think he just did. And like, that was kind of the jump off on it.
We love you, Tim.
Yeah. I actually really enjoy just some of the stuff on your podcast here. Like just sometimes it's the way he like, I don't know, like there's something about like Jake used to have it too, where like they're so spirited in the way they say it. You just like, I'll rewind it a couple times just to hear like a certain word. Like, damn, dude, like he's so like
a lot of emotion. Yeah. He wears it on his sleeves, you know. Yeah. We go out skating for fun. Like we're old. He's out of the thing for a long time. He still has the I have to film the best shit ever mentality. We can't go do slappies or something. He's like, we're skating a curb, dude. I need to. I'm like, dude, well, let's just go have fun. Like, you know, and he's like, I'm cursed. I need to like, let's go to Greer. I'm going to get a switch nose blunt. I'm like, what?
Right. I mean, he was really good even as a kid. And then he was like better than all of us for sure. And then, but even before he got on Think, I felt like he kind of went like, I wasn't seeing him around that much, and all of a sudden he just boom, he was on Think, and you're like, oh man, like, cool. I kind of felt like they found him. Yeah. He's probably just like in San Mateo, Redwood City area, just skating down there because he would come to the city like and skate in Barcadero and stuff, and he kind of just went quiet on it a little bit. Yeah, I'm sure he was always skating, but just doing his own thing.
You better leave this shit in here. Don't be this is negative or not. This is life.
What's going on now? Because that's what I don't really know. Like you work for Nike, but like what's your...
I mean, I'm mostly I work like in the like, because Nike's more like organized like a big company. So it's like I work with the marketing department, but I'm kind of like the in-house like video. I mean, my title is like video producer or content producer. So I just help. Like we have a lot of video projects and they didn't have anybody here to like oversee them basically.
Oh. So
for the most part, I'm just things I help make from time to time. But sometimes I'm like, hey, we need to hire somebody to like, we have a shoe. It's all like kind of project based by like shoe release for the most part for us. So
So you're kind of like a producer, like overseeing
kind
the
of,
project?
yeah. But in skateboarding, so we know how that could be like a gray term.
But it seems like you get to go on trips occasionally
sometimes,
too.
yeah. Like I'll go on trips once in a while. I mean, not like I used to, but it actually started because after Vice, I was doing more freelance stuff. And my friend Herschel was like, hey, it was coming up on like 10 years of Step On Shoe. They're like, hey, we want you to like, could you do like a pitch to make a doc for them? So I had to come up with like a pitch idea. But he was like, hey, like, we actually just need somebody to oversee all these projects because we have all this stuff coming in and there's nobody here to really like just focus on that. So he's like, instead of like just directing that piece, we want you just to come in and we're going to create this job for you to do. And that's kind of just how it happened. So yeah, I just like sometimes I help edit a little bit or give notes on videos that come in or help when they're more like a storytelling thing. Like it's with this collaborator, who are they? Like I hire somebody to direct like a little kind of short doc piece and I work with them on like, hey, it's got to cover this stuff. And it's kind of all over the place. I mean, it could range from anything from like, here's some phone clips to like, here's kind of a more big budget shoot thing. But yeah.
So are you pretty much working with some of the bigger budgets that you've worked with?
It's bigger budgets. I mean, when I worked at Girl and stuff, I wasn't really privy to like, it would just go do it.
Yeah.
I didn't know like what the budget was more or less. But yeah, I mean, there's more money in a shoe company than a board company.
Right.
But it's not like, do whatever you want. Here's $1 million. It's not like that. It's like, here's the money for this. It's very seasonal based. So it's like, here's the money and this is how it breaks out. Do you have X amount of shoes coming out? How are you going to divide that and do what you need for photo? I mean, sometimes I have to hire a photographer too. And like, so it's like, it's a kind of a group effort, but it's like, here's the 5 projects for the season. We have this much money. This one's going to get this amount. This one's that amount, so on and so forth. And then we decide, okay, this is how we're going to do this video. We're going to hire this guy to film. It's his friend, have him film it, blah, blah, blah. And then sometimes, there's like a Europe crew too, that they're like, hey, they're making a video in Europe. You help them get the music. You tell them like when it needs to come out. I don't know. It's a lot of managing, to be honest, and some creative stuff too. But yeah.
But it affords you the opportunity to go to Hawaii once a year.
That was maybe every 2 years.
That's my new goal, is to try to go every year.
I mean, we've gone twice, but yeah, I don't know if it's a year. We got it like that.
Well, let's end with a couple mini top 5s. The first one being podcasts.
I like that Smart List podcast. I don't know if you heard that. I like when they just like bag on each other. It's like my favorite. A lot of podcasts for me is like really predicated on if I like the guest or not. If it's like somebody I never heard of, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I listen to that. I listen to the Daily sometimes if it's like a topic that whatever I'm interested in. Little Talkin Schmit here and there.
Talkin Schmit, dude.
9 Club I'll do if it's like somebody that's like usually an older person that has like crosses the history that I'm like interested in. WTF, same thing. Like if it's somebody that I know who it is. At first, when I first got into podcasts, I was really into like heavy metal podcasts. I just the Don Dawkins interview or something. I was like, that kind of goes back to like my beginning of podcasts. Is actually all like mostly like old metal stuff. That I was like, oh, I want to hear what they're up to now, or just hear the old war stories. So it was like a lot of them aren't even around anymore. But it was like Eddie Trunk is still around, but again, it has to be somebody that crosses my timeline and like somebody that I'm interested in. But
did you read David Lee Roth's book?
I read that one a long time. Yeah, the Face from the Heat. Yeah, there was a while where we were going to the library a lot just to get children's books for my kids in the beginning because we would just kind of cycle through them fast. And I would read almost every autobiography. I mean, some gnarly ones. I read like Sammy Hagar. I would read all of them.
The Motley Crue one's good too.
Read all the Guns and the Motley Crue one was like that was like a long time ago, but that one was like for sure crazy page turn. Even Carroll read that one, and he's like, I mean, Carroll, I'm not putting him out there, but he don't read books, you know what I mean? He was like, dude, I was like waking up like excited to read, dude. I couldn't believe it. Like, you know, he was a crazy Motley Crue head as a kid. convinced his mom to buy him. Like, he's 2 years younger than me, so he was probably like in third or fourth grade when they were really like coming out.
Right.
And he convinced his mom to buy him a bottle of Jack Daniels just to put up on the like shelf. That's like some decoration for the room because he was just so hyped on it.
What about the Hawaii one that you were telling me about? Like, it's like, was it Horror Story or something?
It was, I haven't listened to it for a while, so I kind of forgot. Oh, what school you went? That one. It's like super local Hawaiian.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What about top 5 concerts that you were at?
I mean, I saw a Kiss concert when I was super young, like in kindergarten. We went to like when Kiss was like blowing up.
Where? Cow Palace?
Cow Palace, yeah. Dynasty tour. I mean, honestly, like I was like 5 and like but it was like going to the circus. Like, you know what I mean? It was just like a show.
You got an older sibling?
I have a brother who's like 4 years older. So my mom took us and like some neighborhood kids to the Cow Palace. But it was like the Kiss mania, like Kiss meets the Phantom. Like we had board games and lunch boxes. So it was like, it was pretty tame, but it was like, that was like, you know, it was full on like, you know, the laser coming out of Ace Frehley's guitar, the blood, all that. I mean, it was just I probably knew like 3 songs or something, you know what I mean? But that was super rad. Scorpions to the Cow Palace was probably the next concert I went to after that. That was one where I was like, hey, I want to go to that. I was like in 5th grade, and I was like, hey, I really want to go to this concert. Like, begged my mom to take me and my brother and our friend Mike. And it was funny. Bon Jovi was like the opening band. I went to Day on the Green where Metallica played. Scorpions actually headlined that. That was the summer of like the transition from heavy metal to like thrash metal, Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, and all that stuff. So it was kind of this. We just wanted to see Metallica super bad. It was even before Master of Puppets hadn't even come out yet. It was the summer we kind of discovered them. Ride of Lightning was already out though, and that was like a big ordeal to get my parents to let us go to Oakland. Like there's this Catholic family that we were friends with that had like 7 kids. Like the friends our age, my mom convinced their like way older sister to take us. But it was cool because like later on, like discovering Carroll was like a metalhead. Like we were at shows together before he was at that show. You know, I didn't know. We weren't even skating yet, either one of us. They caught the Night Stalker that day too, actually. It was like it's like my mom's birthday also. I was like,
no way.
I saw Maiden at the Cow Palace, Maiden the Twisted Sister. He was at that one. That's Power Slave era. But that's the Live After Death is that tour. But he was there, and then I went to a Dio show at the Cow Palace, and he was at that one also. It was pretty sick to like discover that.
That's my wife's favorite. She's like, Rainbow in the Dark.
My first club show was Anthrax at the Stone on Spraying the Disease tour. That was definitely up there because it was my first club show. Like I was like, you know, I'm used to the Coliseum or the Cow Palace where it's like they're just like a little dot on the stage, you know what I mean? I'm not even in the front because I'm too little. I can't go up there, you know what I mean? So this was like the Stone where it was like, dude, I'm standing right in front of him, right in front of the singer, you know, like this is crazy. I couldn't believe it. But even more so is like, so this band, it's like Legacy was opening. They were Testament. Before Testament, it was called Legacy. I didn't know who they were, but they were a Bay Area band, so they were the opener. But before the show, dude, Scott Ian was just standing right there, like before the show. Like to me, that I didn't realize like, oh, this is a different, like more underground thing. Like I was still used to like the huge pedestal, right? So I couldn't believe he was just like standing there, like no big deal. And like I went up to him, like, no way, like I love you guys, like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't realize like, oh, this is a club show. This is how it is now. It's not going to be like super rock star now. It's like they're just like normal guys in jeans, whatever, you know what I mean? So that was pretty rad just to like be in a show where you're just like up front and like, you know, it's just so intimate, you know. It was like blowing my mind. I was like in 7th grade. I was just like, wow, that's crazy.
I know we saw Beastie Boys at the Stone. It was like a Licensed to Ill tour. And it was so like you said, you're in a small room kind of like comparatively, and you're like, holy shit.
I mean, the show before that was probably the Coliseum, Oakland Coliseum. So it's like night and day, clearly.
Oh my God. I just got a text from McKenny because I told him I was going to interview you today. And he said, dude, you just fucked me up. Heavy one. Let me know. Hold on. I need 2 stories about Tom. That's Chessie Manini and my cousin Jeremy Castleberry.
Was he cousin Jeremy?
That's what he said. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we had our friend Tom. He was my age. We went to junior high together. He was hilarious. And then his friend Jeremy was actually a really good skater. His cousin and him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was he lived in your city?
They're San Bruno. Tom was South City, but Jeremy was San Bruno.
A little softer down there. Hey, it wasn't soft in Redwood City, though.
Because it depends on what side of El Camino you're on, too. Yes, you know.
I want a caveat disclaimer. Redwood City is not soft.
What side of El Camino? Are you on the west side or the east side?
Oh, I was in San Carlos. It was as soft as it gets. It was like fucking wonderful.
But what side of El Camino?
Dude, so far. Like I was almost to the coast.
You almost on Judah Becerra? Up on 280?
I was almost at 280, yeah.
You're in the Flintstone house, huh?
Yeah, you mentioned Carroll being at concerts that you were at. It's funny because I'm pretty positive. You might ask him, but my first rave I ever went to, I'm pretty sure he was at.
And it
was at this like outdoor mini golf place, like north of the Golden Gate Bridge. And I remember like it was insane. And I think I saw him and maybe Greg and Keith or whoever.
Yeah, those guys were all into that. Yeah.
Dude, the rave days were nuts. My roommates were hella into it.
On that one.
Yeah.
They were so like, you'd come to Barcadero the next day, there was like laying in the bushes. You're like, oh, gosh, look at these guys. I haven't even slept yet.
The last one I was thinking, I know this is tough, but like first things that come to mind is like things that you filmed.
I mean, the one thing that comes to mind for sure is Henry's fakie 5-0, fakie flip at Embarcadero on that weird like ledge kind of on top of the 3. Costin's back nose blunt, that cover for sure. Mike, I filmed his like that kickflip nose wheelie to nollie heel out at Embarcadero. It was like a 401 opener. He just kickflip nose wheelie to nollie heel out, which probably had never been done before, I'm sure. Another Henry line, he did like a switch nose slide, a switch crook. He comes around the kind of corner by the stage of like a 180 nose grind, 180 out, and then pushes all the way to the bottom of the big 3 and does a kickflip nose slide. But like those 2 second last tricks were like first try. After once he made the first ledge trick, he did the rest of it first try, which was like, I mean, I didn't know where he was going. I'm just like, all right, just chase this dude down. And he kickflip nose slide fakie at that time. Like pretty much I filmed him and Tim Henry. It was insane. I filmed like, I'm trying to think. I was there like with Danny Wade, did like the first high air down like close to Mexico, that first iteration where he jumped out of the helicopter. Because I was like kind of in the DC orbit through Rick and stuff. Me, Rick, and Eric. Eric was still on S at that time. But for some reason he came with us.
Wait, that's not the one that Sturt sniped, is it?
It is that one.
Oh my, dude, that's one of the best stories of all time.
Yeah.
I was at Thrasher when that happened because I remember Jake got off the phone and he was like, and I was like, this is insane.
I remember we would go to Hollywood Billiards pool hall a lot off Market. Remember that spot?
Uh-huh.
Upstairs. And Dawes Bird was working for PC at the time. And he was kind of arguing with Lance about like, even though Lance had nothing to do with it, but he was just like a high-speed employee. And Bird's like, I can't believe like we spent all that money and this guy's just selling you guys the photos and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It was kind of funny. And Lance was like, whatever, dude. It's like, it's going to be a great story, though. It's probably better off. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like more, publicity kind of thing.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that was
pretty funny. But yeah, we went down. Like, Rick just picked us up. Like, we got to wake up early and get down there for this thing Danny's doing. I didn't even know Danny, but it was pretty sick just to see that. I think of what else. He almost did the 900 that day, actually, or he spun one.
Whoa!
It was weird because like we went down there, he was like, he's gonna do a high air, right? So he does a high air, and then he started doing like some like like a kickflip indie that was like whatever 12 feet out, or I can't remember what it was, 9-10 feet out, and then he did the helicopter thing, and then. And it's funny because there was probably like 7 photographers. Every transit photographer they had was there. So it's funny that Stuart also.
I mean.
And then he kind of I saw him like kind of spin a 1 or 2 900s maybe. But like, I don't know. To me, it looked kind of, I was just like, in my head, I was like, oh, he's just going to do this now. Like, no problem. But it was kind of the end of the day. It was kind of the end of the day. So he just stopped. I don't know. Maybe he was just tired or something. But I thought for sure he was like, oh. He's just checking them off one by one, but But I mean, he probably just spun it like he didn't like put it down or anything. But even when skateboarding got big, like a lot of the people I were with wasn't really like doing the biggest rails. I kind of was just in a different scene, so it was like kind of more like intricate stuff.
Did you get something cool with Mariano?
More like in fully flared. I filmed with Guy a little bit at Mouse, but nothing got used. That was all doweling.
I love those videos you guys would make on your tours. Like there was a lot of good shit would come out. Like, you know, those tours where you would put them on the Crail like afterwards, and it would just be like so much.
That kind of true. That I kind of became more doing that more so, and then while Ty was out doing like the other videos after a while
in the streets.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was kind of fun because you just kind of, it's like more like laid back, so you can kind of have more fun with it too. So that was cool.
Did you guys ever skate the gazebo banks?
I skated there once. It was kind of like a China Banks kind of transition, right?
It was
like
wooden, like a gazebo, and it had a little metal coping around the top. I'm pretty sure Mike and Henry showed up there one day, and fucking McKenny always talks about that. Like, those guys fucking killed that spot. Like,
that's another spot again where I was just like, I don't know how we heard about this thing, and we just found it.
I think it was Redwood Shores.
Yeah, it's like on the water almost, right?
Yeah.
You got to kind of hop around the side of it.
And you could just go in circles and hit the bank, hit the bank, hit the bank.
It was kind of hard to skate too, a little bit though, right?
Yeah.
It was tight.
It wasn't like perfect training. Yeah, it was like a little one.
We were just doing like little kick turns on it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Did you ever skate Bryce's 43?
I did get to skate Bryce's through Dan Parks because he knew Jim a little bit. So I probably skated like 2 or 3 times.
Damn, I never
I was
there.
pretty hyped on that. And the vert ramp was there too, so we skated the vert a little bit.
Rad.
We'd go to San Jose when it was like the skate park, not the original one.
The Kennedy Warehouse?
But the one that came after where it was like the
like everything.
Yeah, it was public street course and stuff. So that was like, I mean, we were like thirsty. We wanted to skate vert ramps, but we just didn't have that access, you know. There was one in San Mateo. I think I told you about, but I don't know if you ever remembered it. It was like off of like maybe third, like right when you come out of the trees of Burlingame and then like San Mateo opens up.
Jesus.
Off to the right there, some guy named Bosworth had a ramp.
Yeah. I think they called it Bozzies.
Yeah. That was the first vert ramp we went to. We just heard about this kid who went to college, but his parents would let people skate it or something.
No way. Okay.
We were just pumping from the bottom. We didn't even know, like, I didn't even know how to pump. Like, I just thought like the trajectory of the ramp was going to carry me up. I would get on my board and be like, how come I'm not going higher? I don't get it. And they were like, you got to gyrate. I didn't know, they would call it gyrating for pumping. They're like, you got to gyrate. I didn't know. I just had no clue. I thought it just, the ramp did all the work. Even though we were just like walking up as high as we could and stepping onto the board. I was like, I'm just out of speed already. We were just so clueless. We'd go to the pit early on. I got to go to.
Oh, did you ever see Cooksey skate there?
I don't think I ever saw Cooksey, but a lot of the Go Skate guys we would see there. Alcatar and his brother, and you guys all had those little red wheels.
Oh yeah, the garbage can wheels.
Dude, that was like, we were tripping. We were just like, that place was, we were just like if you had regular wheels.
It was super rough. So we got these soft wheels that they were for putting on the bottom of garbage cans that you would wheel out.
Yeah.
And I think Larry maybe, or Chad, one of those two guys was like, dude, these would be perfect for Devil's Pit. And so we started riding them. I was like, oh my God.
And they were red, right?
Yeah, they were red.
Yeah. We were like, what are these wheels? Like, I think we even heard they're from garbage cans or something. We were just like, like off in the corner. They were like doing airs and backside bonus and stuff. We were just we would maybe rock and roll.
That place was hard.
Now I think about like that wooden roll in, like we used to roll into. There's so many like cracks and spaces in it. Like, I mean, it was like so rough. But that's where I actually learned to like carve the corners and stuff. Eventually, I eventually made it to where I actually kick turn over that pipe that Mickey has that photo on.
Yeah,
at down the far end where it's all collapsed down.
That's a sick photo.
I figured out a way to like hit the two. I was regular footed, so I could hit the 2 corners and make it down there. But that's kind of where I learned how to pump a corner because we didn't have any. Where were you going to have a corner to carve around in back then?
Yeah.
that stuff was not around. Yeah. And then the spillway, we talked about I can't believe I missed the spillway.
Oh, you didn't?
Because we went to...
That was the first place I went to. I bought my skateboard at Go Skate, and they were like, go to this spot. So I just went up there, and I was like, kind of like how you described, just like a little kid in the corner going, there's people are drinking beer and smoking.
Dude, there was but we got to CSM Ditch early on, which that seemed like it was so downhill. It seemed like almost impossible to skate, but we kind of skated that a few times. And I think in my head, I thought that was the spillway. So when people were like, have you been to the spillway? I thought that was the CSM Ditch off the 92. So I was like,
it was?
That's I thought it was, but I confused them, so I never actually made it. It's like somebody at Go Skate was probably telling me to go up there, but I was just like, oh yeah, I've already been there. But I had it mixed up,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was so many, like, it seemed like back then, I mean, Sneath was completely different than it is now, but we found that, and like, there was this one that was off 280 that's like, when you're taking the off-ramp, in between, there was like a half pipe. I got a photo of Alcantar doing like a wall ride.
Yeah,
it was like a
we tried to skate that one time too, but it was so downhill also that it was we couldn't deal with it. But I remember you showed me that photo. I couldn't believe that he was doing the wall ride there.
Yeah, those guys were really good. I was like, damn.
but when we first skated Sneath too, like what was cool was like it was like a big kind of bowl kind of thing. And then like you'd kind of go down it like a snake run, right? Like Derby almost, the way it tapered off.
Mm-hmm.
And like that fence got put in, but before that was like the whole thing was to go like
exactly like towards the the drive range. Yeah.
That was sick.
So true or false, you filmed a clip of Phil Shao in my backyard.
I did. You want true or false? How bad do you want that?
So bad.
Were you there that day?
I want the tape. No.
Yeah,
but I got the photo. I think Lance or somebody had a photo in Slap, and you're at the bottom filming.
Yeah, it was frontside nose grind.
Low to high on the pole coping.
Mike had the venture ad, Japan grab.
Yeah, dude, Mike ripped our ramp. Like we used to see Mike at this other ramp called Mookie's in Palo Alto. One time we were skating it, and these guys climbing over the fence the other way, like coming in from some weird way. We used to just come in the side gate, but they were coming over like from the creek or something. And we're like, holy shit, it's Mike Carroll. And we're like, what? Like, I didn't really, like, I knew he could skate jump ramps because I'd seen him at Golden Gate Park. But then he's doing salad grinds and the mutes. And we're like, dude, this guy rips ramp too.
Because he had a mini ramp in his backyard at one point.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. You remember that photo? It was like a spread and Thrasher where Cooksey's doing like the undercoping, like 3-wheel thing.
Yeah.
So I think that ramp was close to his house maybe. And they got that after that ramp had to get moved. They might have got it and cut it down to a mini ramp because I actually never skated, but you could tell like in the HE videos and stuff, it's like really slow. It's like really slow transitions because it was just a vert ramp without the vert, so it had those long transitions. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was that ramp. Yeah.
Well, maybe we can just say that the Phil Shao documentary won't be done until you get me that clip.
I mean, that thing, I don't know.
No, you know what? I put a feeler out because somebody at 411 might be looking through some shit.
Yeah.
So that's where you said it probably is, right?
Yeah. I'm almost positive, yeah. Back then it was just like a mess of like, here's the tape, like no sense of like making a copy or anything.
But you guys would come skate the ramp once in a while, right? You were there more than once.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I went down there one time with, I'm pretty sure like Justin Pierce and Harold.
Really?
They sure skated that ramp. I'm almost positive with Dawes and maybe like Ali Asha.
Dawes used to come down all the time.
Yeah, I think every time I went there it was with Dawes.
Yeah, they had like a center or a 2-page spread of like Liver Sedge, I think maybe Matt Pales or Pastris. There was a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
And Phil had the cover.
Frontside Ollie?
Yeah, Frontside Ollie, that slap cover, that was our backyard.
With the red sweater, maybe?
I was there.
Those are the times.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I appreciate this, man. Just finally made it happen.
Yeah. Zoom.
Enjoy your Sunday, dude. Bang, bang, Niner gang.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, peace.
Later.
Later.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Talking Schmit. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. When you subscribe, you'll get notifications every Tuesday of new episodes the minute they become available. Also, please leave reviews and a 5-star rating. It's the best way to help the show grow. All of the episodes will always remain free, but if you would like to help support the show, you can do so at talkingschmit.com, where you can pick up some merchandise like t-shirts, beanies, hats, and stickers. The website has an entire archive of all of the episodes, with extra photos and videos. Email us with any suggestions, comments, or ways that the show may have improved your life at talkingschmit@gmail.com. All interviews are conducted, edited, and produced by Schmitty. The intro music is Mary's Cross by the band Nature. A very special shout out goes to the executive director, Cheryl Camisa.
Shout out.
Love it!
This is Talking Schmit, where the Rolodex is deep, but the conversation is deeper.
Keep the wheels greased.